Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you are on YouTube Live, please let me know that things are working all right. All right, let's get started. Tesla is up 5.3% today. Big jump after the weekend, after Elon's post that Robotaxi unveil will happen on August 8th. So this trading action is in line with what happened after hours. It's a continuation of that. Let's see. We have a request to speak, but let's see if okay. I see Tesla in the audience. Dylan, if he wants to come up and give us an update on his spreadsheet machine, let's talk about. Okay. Overall markets are flat. Dow Jones up only 0.1%, Nasdaq up 0.2%, S&P 500 up 0.1%. Russell 2000, however, which is the small cap stocks, up 0.7%. Nvidia is down 1%. Apple slightly down as well. Meta down 1%. Google up 1%. Tesla leading the pack today, up more than 5%. This week is the inflation. We're going to get a lot of inflation data. Last week was unemployment data, which showed still pretty tight employment market. That's not what the Fed wants to see. This week, we're going to get inflation data for March. And if you remember, January, February inflation data came in higher than hoped for. And people are still kind of attributing that to seasonality, one-time effects, they say. So we'll see if how the March data comes in. If if this week's inflation data comes in higher than expected, I would expect Fed rate cuts for this year to be pushed out even further. Currently, the markets expect 2 to 3 rate cuts this year. About 2.5 is the average expectation, starting in July. On Wednesday, we're going to get the CPI data. Thursday, we're going to get PPI data. Friday is import-export prices. Wednesday CPI expectations are for 0.3%, both on the headline and core CPI, down from the prior read of 0.4%. So Wednesday morning, we're going to get the March data for CPI. And then PPI data on Thursday, expectations are for 0.3% headline and 0.2% core PPI. So that's the big news of this week. And we're going to see. Oh no, is my headphones not working? Let's see. Omar, welcome.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. How is FSD doing for you today? Any changes?
Well, it literally does every drive nearly perfectly. I think I had one accelerator press today, and that was about it. To go around a stop truck, it was kind of narrow. You couldn't see around it, so it was kind of like creeping a little bit. But I just gave it a little accelerator to get it to go. Other than that, I don't touch anything. So it's performing phenomenally. I mean, this is still the shitty version, but I posted my video yesterday. It's pinned. You can see it doing two rideshare pickups and drop offs with no intervention. So this is actually capable of doing real ride sharing work without any human input sometimes. Now, granted, it's not going to work that often. There's still going to be interventions and stuff, but you're seeing it actually do what a robotaxi is supposed to do.
All right. Let's see if TSLA has any input on that. And then Habib is here as well. I see Wes Hicks. Machine is playing hard to get again. If any new speakers have comments, questions, now is the time to request to speak before everybody else rolls in. It's hard for me to get to all the requests when we have 10 people on the board.
So apparently, Sandy Monroe tore down the Cybertruck battery pack and it's only half filled with cells.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. Was that on his YouTube channel or did he post about it on X?
Yeah, he's got a YouTube video out about it.
Okay. Tezali, if anybody in the audience has seen the video, please request to speak. Tezali, how are you doing?
Doing well. Yaman, how's it going?
Good. We just had the solar eclipse in Austin. Austin was on the path, and it was pretty cool. I took some pictures and videos. A little cloudy weather, but the clouds kind of disappeared for a second for us to see the full eclipse. That was really cool. What's new with you? Did you drop? No, there he is.
Obviously not the full one like you guys had.
Yeah. Clay, go ahead. Clay Knapp.
Yeah, hi. I saw Sawyer's tweet that Elon responded to. Do we think that the the Model 2, for lack of a better term, and the Robotaxi are the same platform now, and maybe just the steering wheel gets removed at some point in the future?
Yes, we talked about this in the last couple of spaces, but
Sorry, I wasn't
Omar?
there the last few days.
That's okay. Omar?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. Tezali, you have 12.3.3, right?
I do, and I used it this past weekend to do my Uber rides. It was really good. However, I will say it's not as good as the previous, the 321. I had some minor disengagements and quite a few accelerator pushes. And I don't like how it stops a little too early at a stop sign. So, but overall, like if I weren't in the car, I think it would feel much better for the passengers. Like they won't know what's going on. But for me as a driver, I see a couple little issues that I'm hoping the next one will fix.
Thank you. And on that front, I'm looking at TeslaFSDtracker.com. 98% of estimated distance with no disengagement in the last 30 days. 87% of drives with one or no disengagements in the last 30 days. And the city distance to critical disengagements for a version with more than 2,000 miles reported is about 200 miles, down from it's about 100 miles, down from above 300 miles in the last version. So that's consistent with what you're saying. 120 miles, yeah. Yeah. So we have FUD news on the board again. FUD.
Yeah, I just
Very,
saw this.
very appropriate name. You know,
Yes.
I want to. So I see Tesla stock is up 5%. I know you have puts. Are you
Yes.
here to Are you here to spread some FUD to bring it down?
I'm just wondering, like, why there's so much buying, because you would think that, well, they beat deliveries, they just launched FSD, and all of a sudden take rates are up, but we don't see any evidence. So considering deliveries are
Well, you know,
down,
the thing is,
I just don't
you know, this daily,
see.
we don't really
Yeah.
focus too much on daily stock price in this space. You know, daily stock price changes every now and then. Obviously, some people, you know, assign value to most people will assign value to Elon's tweet about the August 8th unveil. That's when we saw the 4 or 5% increase after hours on Friday. Maybe that's a continuation of that this today. We talked about this before though, but I don't really want to get into habit of, like, you know, debating daily stock price moves and assigning reason that we don't really know, right? These volatilities happen. But I will ask you though, I'm getting a lot of pushback for having you on the speaker board. Lots and lots of replies. Why do you let him talk? And at the same time, the same people want bull bear debates. So I'm like, I mean, it's like, unless somebody has a short position or a put position on the stock, they're not really a bear. Okay. There's skeptical bulls and bulls that are kind of displeased with this and that, but they're not really bears. Unless somebody's putting their money where their mouth is, then it's hard to have a bull bear debate. So if you want a bull bear debate, this is part of the game. At the same time, FUD, I've noticed that your posts on X are not as high quality as the things that you say in here. Is that because of kind of maybe driving engagements, or is there a different reason for it?
Well,
You know,
obviously, when you're in a space like this, you are debating the most intelligent people. I think when you're posting, there are a lot of people who dismiss basic stuff. For example, if you're post about inventory, they don't even understand that we're not looking at, when I'm posting about how inventory listings, they think that that's exactly inventory. So I'm looking to have debates. Obviously,
well, that's
when
not.
it
But
comes to
that's not
debates.
what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the inventory posts, which I find valuable. Like, I find those posts by you and others valuable. Okay, and you have valuable things to say. But for example, some of the inflammatory stuff, like accusations, like Tesla is a fraud or Elon is a fraud without any material facts behind it, I think those are extreme. And that reflects poorly on the other stuff that you say, which I find valuable.
Yes, I mean, I know other people obviously disagree with that, but of course, if you look at the bear camp, most of Tesla is not, they're not even saying that the stock is going to 30. They think it's a zero. So they do see that there's big concerns. And obviously, as a former bull, I don't think that they're going to zero. I just think that there are some sketchy things to it, and there needs to be a debate on that. But of course, I know that a lot of bulls, they look at, obviously, as FSD, they're a lot more bullish on that. And I think obviously they see that their take rates, they think, I guess, like, since 2019, they've been saying, Robotaxis are here by 2020, they're going to have, you're going to be able to make money on robotaxis. And if you look at Lucid, people are saying, oh, they're a fraud, because obviously they made these big numbers and they didn't deliver. So I just don't see how there's a very big difference in this regard. it seems like they were promising these numbers where you're going to be able to do it. And back in 2019, the stock was pretty low, so it doesn't seem to be as big as a stretch as some people are saying.
Well, I just think that claims of fraud are heavy and they should be reserved for, extreme diligence on the facts. The fact is, Elon has been sued more times than I've seen Machine's mom, and that's a lot. So I think that we should just be kind of careful. Like, he's been sued and exonerated many times, and I think that we should just be careful about making such grandiose claims without support, like actual support. TSLA?
So with Lucid, it's about production and delivery, which has been done before. People have produced cars and delivered cars. But with this FSD, nobody really has an autonomous vehicle for the masses. So who knows how long it's going to take? It was, you know, Elon like had this vision, but nobody really knows until it's actually solved when it's going to happen. Yes, he could have said, 2017, 2018, 2019, but he's super optimistic. So he's not saying it's, nobody's saying it's never going to happen, but at some point it will happen. And if you drive an FSD vehicle or you experience it for several years, like I have, you could see the progression of it and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel of when it actually could happen. May still take some time, but if you can see a clear path, where you can't really see a clear path with somebody who is supposed to produce a certain amount of cars and then falls flat and then pays their CEO an exorbitant amount for not producing anything.
West 6. Can you guys see West 6 as a speaker? Okay. West 6, you have to unmute yourself for us to hear you. He had a bit of a connection issue coming up, maybe. His issues. All right. Ezali, do you have an update for us from any of the YouTube channels that you follow about Ubering? Any update around using FSD or Tesla's Robotaxi, Elon's Robotaxi posts?
So the biggest account I follow for Ubering is the rideshare guy, and they're kind of against even having an EV as an Uber. So, and there really isn't very many other than Kaz that has his vehicle. That's the only one I know.
Yeah, that is so crazy to me that, I know the account you're talking about. I've actually heard about that account from a number of Uber drivers, because when I get into an Uber, I obviously ask about Tesla and their views on FSD and this and that, and what sources they follow. And the rideshare guy YouTube channel seems to be a very, very popular one in terms of organizing drivers, which is really interesting. It's almost like a labor union on YouTube. And I'm surprised that they don't think EVs are a good choice for. Is it just the range or the charging network or anything else? Like, what are some of the top points that they present that EVs are not a good choice for ride sharing?
I think the main one is the price of the vehicle upfront. So you're paying the upfront cost, and they're not seeing that return on investment right away. Whereas if you get a cheaper car like a Corolla or maybe a Camry or something that has a lower upfront cost, that's kind of what they're looking at. They're not seeing the long-term value of that vehicle.
But hasn't that changed with used Model 3 prices declining below $25,000 and now qualifying for the $4,000 EV tax credit?
Agreed. And maybe they'll start changing their tune a little bit. But from what I've heard so far, they don't talk much about it. They do tell you when there's an incentive from Uber, like the $2,000 credit you can get from them for buying a new Tesla, but they don't promote it.
Well, when they change tune, would you please let us know?
Will do.
Thank you. Machine.
What?
What do you want?
What do you want? You keep asking me to speak. Do you need me to go off again and rant? Because I can do that. Let's see.
What do you want to rant about?
I mean, you mentioned this account, the FUD News, which I don't know much about. You know, coming up and speaking nicely, and then in the replies, everyone's saying, "Get him off." And it just reminds me of the Tesla Motor Club forum, where people for years offered various levels and opinions, analyses, and different opinions, and it kind of helped everyone kind of come to, consensus, understanding. And nowadays, the place has become a total cesspool of everyone having the same hive mindset and not allowing any dissenting opinions before they just proudly say they've blocked the account. Like all these accounts that are bringing up some of the issues, blocked. People are like, oh, I'm not going to see that account anymore. And it's just sad because this sort of insular way of thinking.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. You're telling me that Tesla Motors Club, which I haven't visited in the last couple of years, is more of an echo chamber than it was like 5-6 years ago?
Yes. And
wow.
It's more bullish than on X. The sentiment is more bullish.
Wow.
There's nothing.
That is insane.
Everyone is happily converted to car deliveries don't matter anymore. It's all about AI. That's all they care about now. They've pivoted because that's what Elon says. And I made a special account where I'm more critical, and just people disagree all the time. Even though I'm not like with this guy if he's saying fraud or anything. Like I'm not.
Right.
I'm just saying the future earnings, the valuation does not make sense for the future earnings growth in the next few years, and everyone just totally turned it off. So my point is,
I used to get that too, and I was a bullish. I was publishing articles on Seeking Alpha at the time in 2017, 18, 19, while I was on Tesla Motors Club, and it was all bullish articles, and I would get all these disagrees from Tesla Motors Club. And now you're telling me also that the moderators on Tesla Motors Club are blocking people and bragging about it?
No, not the moderators. It's just individuals. All the individuals are, you can ignore people on there, just like you can block people here.
Right.
So yeah. Anyways, I'm not saying it's 100% echo chamber, but it's gotten worse, and this is very dangerous in any situation. That if you start blocking yourself off from the outside, then you can choose any path, right? You can convince yourself of anything. So I think
so hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure people understand their risk and the fact that there simply aren't that many bears, like true bears, who bet against the company, who put money where their mouth is. Those are the true bears, okay? That are willing to come up and speak here. So bears are in near extinction, at least the ones that are willing to come up and speak their mind. So I want to be mindful of that fact. And, I'm going to have to protect them a little bit, okay? But at the same time, FUD, please try to, just don't be so inflammatory. I don't want to say, I can't say that. Like, that's not my place to say to you. But maybe like I can say, like what people say outside this space does matter it does play into me asking them to request a speech. Okay, because like in a way you're representing the speaker board here. So so I do actually watch people's posts, replies as well to others. Like sometimes people think the replies don't get as many views, and they can be like more personal, like personal attack others. Like I do actually read people's replies and take that into account. Machine.
Yeah, Fudd. You can pick your game up. All right, don't embarrass me. Okay, I'm the only one up here who's moderate. Everyone's an extreme. And I'm the moderate. I will short the stock if I need to because it's overvalued. But long term, I think it will go up. Just not as much as necessarily as other people here. And you, meanwhile, are saying fraud. I mean, this is so 2018 Tesla FUD. I mean, it's 2024 now. Get something new. Like, get something real. Okay? So, what's real? What's real is the company is decreasing their earnings because people don't want to buy EVs right now. And it's been that way for over a year. And the trend is still concerning as Tesla the list prices keep going down, even as the seasonality aspect for the whole overall car index is going up a bit. And this is just again putting pressure on new prices. And even though everyone can wave their hand, oh, but Tesla raised the price $1,000. Meanwhile, the inventory is getting bigger cuts.
All right, let's break it up. You're bringing down the mood, man. It's already cloudy in Austin. We were promised a solar eclipse, and we didn't see anything. We just saw clouds and darkness. What kind of solar eclipse is that?
You have to act like
and now I come here, and you're like bringing down the mood even more. The stock is up 5%. Omar, can you tell us something positive?
I'm driving across the Bay Bridge right now
That is so
in
positive.
my Cybertruck. It's a
Okay.
beautiful sunny
Oh, there you
day. The bay is just gorgeous. The water's blue. The Cybertruck's amazing. I have a lot of bullish stuff to say when I get home in 15 minutes.
Make a sharp turn right, 90 degrees.
And test the Cybertruck on the water. Hey, Machine. Actually, let's go to Casey for a second. Casey, go ahead.
I was just wondering, if I buy a used Tesla from a private party under 25,000, do you get the tax credit or no?
No, it has to be from a dealer.
There is a website or an app you can search for. I forgot the name of it offhand, but they will act like the middleman and give the buyer the credit and give you the money, and then they'll take the money, obviously for a fee, but they will do that. So if I remember the name, I'll let you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, why don't you? That would be great if you can find that name. Maybe Matthew knows. Matthew, do you know the name of this app that acts like a middleman so private parties can qualify for the credit when they exchange used Tesla?
Yeah, there's at least two of them. One is called Key Savvy, and then I forget the name of the other main one. But yeah, check out Key Savvy. Not a lot, but there's tens of thousands of dealers that have signed up to support the IRA point of sale tax credit. So quite a lot of dealers, not all of them. If you buy from a dealer that is not signed up for the point of sale credit, meaning you don't get the rebate immediately off the top of the price, and the dealer applies and receives the credit. If they don't do that, the dealer still has to submit paperwork to the IRS so that you can file it yourself. So you can't just go into any random used car dealer, buy a Tesla for under 25, can say, okay, I'll file this at the end of the year. If the dealer does not file the appropriate paperwork, you are not going to get the credit.
Well, I mean, how popular? Like, what? I'm really curious about the name of this app that two people who usually have good memories forgot the name.
It is Key Savvy, and I just looked it up.
Oh,
Yep, it's definitely that.
well,
I
he
will.
says that.
I'll tell you, there's a small Tesla account on Twitter called Cheap Teslas. Check out Cheap Teslas. It's a dealership here in Washington State, and that guy buys used Teslas and resells them for like crazy good deals. And he now does the point of sale tax credit. So if you want a cheap used Tesla, just check out Cheap Teslas on Twitter. He also has a Facebook group called, it's like Tesla deals discounted and wholesaler, something similar.
Okay, thank you.
What is this Twitter you talk about? It's X. X. Matthew, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I'm on a long car trip today.
Well, the sound quality is not great, but we also don't have Meta or Wes in here. We have Omar, and he's really the only person on the speaker board who's qualified to speak about FSD and has hardware 3 at a minimum. But then we also have
Darn,
this
I
like
really
other
had
guy.
some questions for Wes. I wanted to hear his thoughts on the end-to-end model with camera positions changing, but it sounds like we should save that discussion for later.
Yeah, and maybe at that point, maybe if you have better sound quality too, that I mean, we can also like a specific, conversation like that. We can also, I can like if you reach out to me ahead of time, I can schedule things too. All right. Well, Omar, maybe actually Omar is headed home, so he'll be home in about 5 minutes. Matthew, will your connection improve in about 5-10 minutes?
No, it's only going to get a lot worse. I'm about to be in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. And if you're on your iPhone, what you can do is swipe down from upper right corner, and on the upper right corner again, select mic mode, voice isolation. But I'm actually curious about what Matthew said. Let's see what Machine has to say on this. He's not as good as Omar, Meta, or Wes, or FUD News, but Machine is actually, he can speak about FSD.
Well, what do you want me to say? Did he disappear already? He disappeared.
That's okay. He said, he
Fear.
asked about, what do you think about camera position changing in an end-to-end model?
Okay, it's not a big deal. I mean, you have to retrain. You have to retrain some part of it. So I don't. You're assuming they already have some model for mapping, because obviously they have 5 different vehicles that run. Well, Cybertruck soon run FSD, and they all have different camera positions. So they're doing something already on mapping those different positions into, using. So I don't know if they're using a specific model that's then fed into the end to end, because I thought we presumed the end to end was raw input from all the cameras. But if that's the case, you would have different models for each vehicle, which I believe is definitely not the case. So my guess is they have some initial step where they're mapping everything kind of into the same domain. And so if you change the camera positions, you would just have to do that another time, just like you do it for a new car. So I don't find it something super challenging, especially if you keep the same number of cameras. And once you up the number of cameras, which the Cybertruck does have the front bumper camera, we don't know if they're going to use it. That may make things a bit more complicated, but I don't find any of these to be huge problems.
All right. We have a wave coming up. In the meantime, Joseph, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, other than Key Savvy, which seems to be the most popular one, there's another one. Depending where in the world you live, it's called Caramel or Caramel. But Key Savvy definitely seems to be the most popular choice for the private sale.
Okay, so for those of you who just joined, there are apps and websites out there that allow, that somehow facilitate the sale of a used Tesla to a private party and still qualify for the $7,500 credit. Sorry, $4,000 credit. I need coffee. Okay, go ahead, machine.
Yeah, it's not facilitate, it's facilitate. And in opposite, it's not masturbate, it's masturbate.
All
It's
right.
the wrong syllable.
All right.
Actually, I have another
I'm gonna
real question. Hands raised.
Okay.
You see this change for the Cybertruck now that anyone, I don't know exactly if it's Founders Edition, that people are going to get it in 2025 now. Like it's quote sold out for 2024. I don't know if you saw that. And my question is just specifically, if they're making that forecast, for 9 months out at least, then they must have some idea of how many they're going to produce for the rest of the year, which is interesting to me because from a 4680 production standpoint, like I'm just curious how well they know exactly how many 4680s they're going to be able to produce for this year. Like, I don't know, does that tell us anything about their confidence or lack of confidence in that growing and scaling up?
Let's get the bear perspective on it first. Fudd,
Yeah, I think that there is actually much more demand than was anticipated based off of there are a lot of foundation series out there, and I think that people are still ordering it. I think that when we look at the resale value in these auctions, they're still going high. I guess they do think that they're going to be able to ramp these 4680s based off them being able to do it, obviously. And I think that the bear side would be okay. Well, they're canceling it or something, but I think that's a bit of a reach. I think that they probably do see that that they are able to, I guess, because my perspective is that okay, they can also change this in order to make it look like there is an illusion that there's more demand than there is. So that's the bearish take, but I'm sure the both disagree with that.
You don't have to force a take if you don't know.
Yeah.
That just seemed very forced.
Yeah, it did. You were kind of thinking as you were talking. Didn't really have a coherent argument there, but that's okay. That's okay. It happens to people when they first come up to speak in their first few days in the space. It's just part of the process. Machine was like that too. When he first joined, he couldn't put two words together. He get excited. I think there was one time he like cried because he couldn't get a word out. But that's okay. That's okay. Wes,
Hey guys, what's happening? I'm having some real technical issues here, so hopefully you can hear me. Hey, did you guys hear the Steve Westley interview on Friday on Schwab Network, where he said the Cybertruck was a flop?
no, I did not see that one. Man, there's so much content out there. There's no way I can watch all that. So what was the TLD?
Well, this guy, I guess, is a former Tesla board member and has been a Super Bowl, for Tesla forever. And just out of nowhere, he says that the Cybertruck is a flop right now. I'll try to post it. I don't know how do I post it to this group?
You can tag me on it. I'll take a quick look.
Do I just
But why don't you
DM you?
summarize it for us first? Just you can tag me on a reply or something.
Yeah,
But why don't you tell us the summary first?
Here you go, right here. Listen.
Cybertruck has been a flop so far. We'll see if they can fix that in their late.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I hear what he said, but is there a reason behind it?
No, he doesn't really provide any detail. But this guy, to me, is like a pretty close to the to Elon, and the company. So I don't know. It was weird. It did concern me just because this guy's been bullish forever, but there's really no other details on it.
Wow. I just read something crazy, but I can't tell you guys what it is.
Okay. Joseph and then machine. If Joseph isn't able to talk, I'm going to move him down. 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Yeah, I was just
Okay,
going
go
to
ahead.
machine. I mean, the answer to your question is, I think it's bullish, but we have no window to see what type of production number that means. But I mean, Elon has said the demand is very high for Cybertruck, and if they're pushing it out to 2025, I mean, yes, they have a great window into what their production ramp is going to be for 4680, but we don't know what that is right now. Maybe Q1 results.
Okay, machine.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, maybe they're just forecasting that even if once 4680 production, like they're going to install more lines, right? And even if they improve the production rate on each line, then it becomes not the limiting factor for Cybertruck production. And then they've modeled out, well, we don't have to worry about that. Like we're going to scale Cybertruck production based on other limiting factors, and then we can forecast, how much we're going to have for this year, et cetera. And then maybe the extra 4680 capacity could go into Model Ys or something. So I'm that's definitely one outcome. So that's a hopeful one. I mean, I think that's most likely, but 4680 production has been historically underwhelming. So that's the part that gives me hesitancy that all of a sudden it's they're very confident about it. That seems odd.
Uzi Obi.
Hi, Iman. So I was thinking that, especially because of this space, some self-reflection. I think bulls are tending to view bearish perspectives outside of FinTwit, with like this witch hunt esque, and so I think bringing up that Schwab example sort of reignited that the sort of perception that a lot of the criticism interpreted by bears is sort of just outright rejected, and the reasoning is really what's the most interesting thing, and seeing the reasoning here is really awesome. I think with Cybertruck, the lack of a desperation, I'd say, or urgency to like scale production, it suggests that it's not like essential to the bottom line, I'd say. But I believe that the perception of Cybertruck suggests quite bullish overall. I really would like FSD to be in Cybertruck. I think that's a missed opportunity.
Well, you broke up, but I assume you said my name. I agree. I don't understand how anyone could look at the Cybertruck sentiment in the world as a negative right now. You have all these people paying $100,000 or more for this vehicle, and there's all these famous people flossing around with this huge piece of stainless steel triangle. I would drive, I see this huge triangle on the road. My daughters, 6 and 9, yesterday saw a black matte Cybertruck. They're just screaming, "Look, Dad, it's Cybertruck! It's Cybertruck!" You think they do that for any other car? No. You know, Kim Kardashian's got one. She's got a nice ass. So people are going to buy this thing. And it's really the only positive earnings stimulant right now for this company. So it's the one thing you want to see production grow this year, because it's the one thing that could increase earnings for this year, other than energy. That's flatlined now. So that's why I'm very focused kind of on Cybertruck ramp because I think people do want it. We don't know ultimately what the average selling price is going to be in steady state, but right now it's looking good and that it's going to have solid margins. And I want to see later this year, at kind of volume production, what will it bring in? And that's why I'm curious about this forecast now. The demand sold out for the rest of the year, just in terms of what that means for their production rate.
Wave.
Hi guys. Back to what Machine was talking about. I also think it's bullish, especially what Homar was mentioning at the beginning of the Spaces Yaman, that Sandy, I guess, saw a significant amount of space, maybe 1/3 or more. That the battery section of the Cybertruck is not full, so that's quite bullish news if that's the case for next year, and being able to grow the mileage and improve the charging curve. And you were asking earlier, Yaman, if anyone, a Uber driver, YouTube suggested a terrific Uber driver, really enthusiastic, great with the customers. His name is Project Upside. Don't know if you've seen him or not, but I highly recommend checking him out. He had one ride where a Tesla employee was there in the front seat, and I think his parents were in the back seat. It was really interesting. Listen and watch.
Thank you. Machine.
I'm not really understanding this battery space in a Cybertruck because number one, if there's a third to a half of the space available, then why on earth would they try to sell this extender pack on the top, which is hideous? It doesn't make any sense. And two, I thought we've seen videos that they theorized someone took pictures. There is some gap between the batteries, and I don't know if it was underneath or above it, between that and the seats. I don't remember, but that was for like cooling or something. So I'm just curious. I haven't seen his teardown of what he says. Like if it's clearly enough space for a whole other row, or excuse me, like a column of, not row or column, whatever level of batteries. Yeah, I'm curious about that. It doesn't make sense with their range extender.
Wave, and then just.
I actually went to search for it after I heard it by Omar, and I couldn't find any confirmation. So if there is space, it could be from what you talked about, just more margin and heating, and maybe potentially in the future to be able to add more. And the range extender could be a placeholder that they might never actually materialize, and just do that as for the ones they've already sold as an option. But a V2 Cybertruck could have definitely more battery pack from the sound of it.
I was gonna say basically what Wave just said. I think the one that goes in the bed is an option for the foundation ones, and the limit right now is the 4680 ramp. They were not ready to fill a full Cybertruck battery, so it was a stopgap.
Machine, are you satisfied with those answers?
No, I'm not. I don't like. What do you mean it's a stopgap? They're not selling the range extender.
Are you ever satisfied? Oh
I'm
my gosh, I
satisfied
just
with
set
the
myself up.
truth. This is ridiculous.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm not.
Wow, you whipped. Wow.
Why doesn't that make
That
sense?
was, dude, that was 80 miles per hour down the middle.
I wasn't
I
paying
mean, why
attention.
does
I was
that not
too.
make sense to you, Machine? We know that the 4680 was a challenge. So why not produce more vehicles when there's infinite demand? Then when you've got the ramp, you fill the battery, get the 500-mile range that you promised, and then the people that bought early, yeah, you're still screwing them a little bit by making them buy the extender, but at least you got to sell the truck in 2023.
No, I don't. That part's all fine. Why did they sell the range extender at all? Why don't you just say 500-mile version coming in a year or two? I don't understand. Why did you make this stupid thing? The thing is really ugly and stupid. And why would you even go through that process of selling it if you knew, well, we actually have the space. We just got to wait till we have more battery supply.
Well, they want people to buy the current version.
They're not buying. Who's buying a range? Are they selling a range extender version right now?
No, they want you to buy the truck.
They
No.
want.
You're saying it's going to
Why are you guys
Osborne.
yelling? Why are you guys yelling at each other?
You're
Did you
saying
not have your Popeyes today?
I didn't. I made some filet mignon though, so it was better.
There you go. Go get some Popeyes. Do us a favor. Eat some Popeyes. I think it makes sense that So here's my speculation based on what I've heard. I have not seen the video. Okay, just off the cuff. If they have some space on the battery pack, as Sandy Bruno was saying, that could be because Alex is the right person to answer this question. He's in the audience if he wants to come up, but that could be because maybe they were concerned about the weight of the truck. And we discussed in here to ad nauseum that we were expecting a bit lower weight on the Cybertruck, as Elon has said in the unveil, and maybe they wanted to kind of preserve that part, like the more capable battery pack with a higher capacity, for when version 3 or the version 4 of the 4680 with higher energy density comes into play. So maybe that's taking a bit longer than they expected. Okay. And in the meantime, they didn't want to say to market that we have a 500-mile version coming a year, 2 years down the line, when we have a higher energy density battery pack, and therefore, get this one, and, or you can get the range extender. And they seem to have enough demand for the current version with 300-something mile range. So, one of them is on the board right now. Habib got the current version of the Cybertruck, and he's so happy, right, Habib? No.
Version have it
connection. Bad connection. Machine.
I feel like I keep referring to that.
So you're saying that they already have the space in the pack to make it 500 miles.
Well, Sandy Munro is saying that.
Right. And they basically, quote, sold with this range extender something that they already knew wasn't actually going to exist, because they already know they have the space. FUD news. This is how you do real critical thinking here. They already knew, so they basically made it up just to not Osborne. That's basically what you're saying.
What's wrong with that, dude? If they can deliver a truck that's even better, it's not unethical.
Absolutely.
You have a choice. No. Relax. We have Alex, what do you think? Welcome.
Hey, I don't know, like we'll have to see what type of cells are in there, but if those are like just 4680, the extra space could be for the 46110s that they have that they're designing. So it might be just that larger cans to get about like 40% more range. That could be as simple as that.
See, if somebody paid for the range extender, which hasn't been delivered, right? And instead they get a truck that actually has the range in the original battery pack, in the battery pack itself. Who's going to complain about that? Why would someone complain
It's
about
fine. The consumer is going to be fine. Consumer's going to be fine.
Okay.
It's more about unneeded deception for no reason. You do
It's
it a
not
different
unneeded
way.
deception.
Yeah, you knew.
No, they could have easily said, no, it's not unneeded deception. They're not sure they're going to be able to deliver in this original pack, right? Maybe they would have
Oh,
had
come
to do
on.
the range extend. They just want to be conservative. There you go.
Ah, God.
You don't have to call me your god. I don't accept that. Just
I think we're talking about the same thing, but we're failing to communicate here. The optional extender is a stopgap only for the people that are choosing to buy early when they are 4680 or 46120, whatever, ramp limited. It's you. So the people that currently, like, let's say Omar, like we're going to say Omar, he's got the truck now. When they have completed the ramp, they're not going to give him a new battery that has the full capacity. That doesn't make any sense. But what they can do is create a limited extender and allow him to purchase that. And then at the same time, once they get the ramp completed, they will have filled out the battery pack and the extender will go by the wayside. It's just a limited option for the early adopters.
I'm fine with that.
Wade.
Thanks,
Wade seems to
Joseph.
be having.
I think you articulated it well. Thanks.
Was you?
I think the last perspective shared sort of captured how I answer the question. I mean, I view the Cybertruck as this like ultimate macho survivalist car where the barrier to entry is like 100K. So who's going to be buying this is, it's going to be like those celebrities and people that have lived life and, materially successful. So, the market for this, it's not everyone. And then on top of that, 340 miles gets you from, I just searched up on Perplexity, LA to Vegas. That's pretty good, right? If you want the battery extender for 500 miles, and try to find another example, but there's not a clean cut one. What's like Nashville, Tennessee to Mississippi. I mean, 340 miles is enough, right? Like getting from LA to Vegas, like thinking in terms of concrete examples works for me. I'm not sure how you guys think, but I'm not buying a Cybertruck. I don't have the money for it. But if I were, and I was in that situation, then I'd try, and then yeah, I'd go for, I guess whatever vision of the survivalist car that I want.
Okay. Has anyone on the board actually seen the video from Sandy Monroe?
I don't think the video is out, just photos.
Yeah, it's just photos that I'm aware
He's
of.
just slow playing the teardown.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. Alex, how you been? What do you make of this recent stock price?
I've been good. What do I make of what?
The stock price, volatility.
Oh, same as always.
What do you think Tesla will announce on August 8th?
A Robotaxi. We'll unveil
Just the
a robot.
hardware?
What do you mean? Like, what else would they be? Well, I don't know. The event might be just an unveil of a car.
Right. So you're welcome. How are you?
Doing good.
What's new today?
Just came to hang. Don't think there's much new.
Who's you?
No, I was just saying hi to Sawyer. He's a legend.
You cut out, Yaman.
Tesla Stan. Go.
I just wanted to know if you guys have any YouTube channels that go deep into like battery technology.
Jordan, the limiting factor. He's a good one.
I see. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, nobody
Also,
goes deeper than him.
I see. Yeah, that's cool. Someone was speculating that just like how they have the Boring Company tunnel in Vegas, that on the and it's all speculation. Like, it would be cool if they used that same Boring tunnel, but instead it was just all robotaxis. You think that might happen for the reveal?
Not sure, even sure I understood the question.
It's not a question. It's more so speculation. Like someone was saying, like just like they had the Boring tunnel, like they had like the Boring tunnel in Vegas, they had just Uber, like people in Teslas just driving into that tunnel to alleviate traffic. Someone was speculating that we could have that same tunnel just instead for the reveal, for there to be only robotaxis as like a speculation.
You mean like the tunnel that's at the Giga Texas that they're digging right now?
In Nevada, so the Boring tunnel in Nevada.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just.
I don't think it traveling through a tunnel is impressive enough. I'm honestly expecting something real world. I don't think it's just going to be a car. I think we're going to see something even more than just a car. It's going to be a demo. But we've seen cars, and it's been so long coming. I think Elon knows he's going to have to really wow. This is going to be a wow moment.
I mean, how would a demo different? Okay, interesting. So you're talking about the original Autonomy Day in early 2019 when they gave demos to investors, something like that with the new hardware.
I think that's the goal. Yes.
Do you think that would be enough to wow people? Wow people.
If the window doesn't break, so to speak, yes. If they do the demo and it goes off without a hitch, 100%. People don't think this is real. Like, I live in Central Texas.
Well, I mean,
most people haven't even
here's
sat in a
the
Tesla
thing.
yet.
Yeah, the problem with that theory is I think that V12.3 variants are so good that to reach any sort of conclusion, you really need fleet-wide data. No one car, like data from one car alone is just not enough to establish any sort of significant results. So how would you do that on a demo ride that you had maybe for a few minutes? Go ahead.
Well, you're speaking as a statistician or a mathematician, but most people don't think that way. Most people are so ignorant of Tesla. Like, y'all have been in Tesla for a lot longer than I have, right? Like, most of the world doesn't even understand what a Tesla is, much less what autonomy is. It sounds like magic to them. So to see a real world demo where it actually works and it's just based on cameras, no LiDAR, like, that's a wow moment. Whether it's statistically significant or not, they don't believe this is real.
Yeah, I don't think so. I disagree. And there are hundreds of thousands of cars that are riding V12 today. There are millions of people who have experienced FSD V12, etc. And I just don't think a demo ride will cut it. They're gonna have to be, if they could, yeah. Like, I understand what you're saying about most people don't think statistically. I agree with you. Okay, but institutional investors do. And this idea that we know better than the rest of the world is, I think, it's a little presumptuous. You might know more than your family and colleagues, etc., around you, but the market is not as stupid as some people think, I think. But let's go to Xander. Xander agree with you.
Hey, you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, I think that aspect of the statement that Robotaxi, any kind of demonstration reaching a very wide audience, it can educate the market that that it's possible. People don't know that that my car can take lefts and rights and stop for a chicken or whatever.
I definitely think there's two like larger forces at play. Robert mentioned last night when he got his, I think he was doing FSD. Like he's like an early adopter, and then I see there's this social interest that builds around that, and I think there's this micro community part that will word of mouth that will really help FSD adoption. And on the other hand, I do believe in the demo being useful because it is this it's somewhat universal and uncontestable. And then for those that are hearing in their micro communities, oh, FSD is so cool and whatnot, it really serves as this verification of what you're sort of seeing or hearing in your own life. And for me, I really believe Tesla cars and FSD are going to require changes in user behavior and learning. So education is the most important part. That's why I'm so thankful that they really started advertising FSD and teaching people like the ropes with that.
Seriously, Yaman, I think you overestimate how much people know about FSD and everything. It seems to be like you're taking your knowledge base and applying it. Well, most people probably know this stuff already, and I think you're way off.
Okay, Dion. I didn't say most people know. I said institutional investors are smarter than people think.
Hey, thanks for letting me up. I just wanted to real quick give Sawyer a shout out because I was literally a no one, and I was like reporting on electric vehicle news, and he posted my stuff, and I also want to shout out Homar's blog because he helped me too and gave me good advice. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much, and you guys are awesome. And also like it for Tesla to just to be this successful, but to get an affordable vehicle out, like an affordable EV, because I think that's the goal, right? To get it's to get everyone an EV. That's that, so for everyone to be able to afford it.
Do you have a question?
My question, no, I'm just shouting you guys out. I think you guys are cool. You guys are awesome, and man, yeah, you know what I mean. That's all.
All right, thank you. All right, so this is not weekend mode. No chill mode today. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be just a car unveil, maybe some demo?
They're going to demo
rides?
Tesla Network.
Do you think that's it for August 8th? Do you think that's it for August 8th? Or do you think there's more? Omar, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. What do you expect is wildest prediction for August?
For August? Well,
yeah,
I think people are a little bit confused about what exactly this event is. This is an unveil of the next gen platform. Okay. So they may talk a little bit about, Robotaxi, Tesla Network, that kind of stuff. That's not going to be ready. Okay. I'm sure the software by August will be amazingly good, even better by today, but it's not going to be ready to be a Robotaxi yet. What they're showing is their first vehicle on the next gen platform. And I think they're putting a lot more work into the next gen platform than people realize.
Okay. We have, let's see, Antonio D. He's an engineer and he used to work with Sandy Munro. Okay. So at the top of our screens is Antonio's post reply to Omar from 54 minutes ago. He says, it's not half empty. That's a vent channel for the Cybertruck pack, battery pack. Okay. So this is in reply to a screenshot. Omar, this screenshot says industry veteran Sandy Munro and his team continue to Tesla Cybertruck tear down with the battery pack. Cracking open the Cybertruck's structural battery revealed intriguing details. Most importantly, the pack appears to be half empty. Antonio says, it's not half empty, it's a vent channel. So to correct the discussion, or to add to the discussion from earlier, we don't exactly know what the claim is. And I'm going to go back in the recording later to see who made that claim in here. Kai Liang, go ahead. Kai Liang, you may unmute yourself and go ahead. All right.
I'll just add my thoughts on the August unveil, maybe. I think what likely happened is, dating back to January, obviously Elon had said we're very far in development with the next gen vehicle. I don't remember if he said vehicle or platform, but we know that this was going to be a platform that both the $25,000 compact with the steering wheel and pedals was going to be on, just like how the Robotaxi was going to be on. And then I think as the chip shortage started to lift a little bit, and Tesla was no longer compute constrained, and then they released the FSD 12, which was an end-to-end model, and they got rid of 300,000 lines of code. I think Elon probably was like, why are we going to make a next-gen car first if we can probably do robo-taxis sooner than maybe we otherwise thought we could? So I think maybe however many weeks ago, Elon switched thinking in that let's do the robotaxi. Let's make that the priority. This doesn't mean they're going to cancel the compact $25,000 car with a steering wheel. This just means that they're going to shift more resources to the robotaxi effort, because that's ultimately why I think most of us are into the stock, and that's the ultimate opportunity. So I don't know what they're going to unveil in August, if it's just going to be a prototype or something that's very far in development and then they can just start production, maybe a year and a half later, or if this is more of a Cybertruck thing where it's years afterwards. I don't know, but I think Elon has turned even more bullish on FSD than maybe otherwise. Notice how he hasn't been saying a lot of feature complete things like this year. He's kind of just letting FSD. He hasn't been talking much about FSD as much as the other Tesla employees have on X, and I that's interesting to me. And this is FSD 12 is the first time we've seen Tesla employees come out like this and be this bullish, and they don't typically do that. So I think that's a sign to us investors, that they're really confident in this, and we should expect quicker and quicker progress as the months and years go on.
Thank you, Sawyer. Machine.
It's interesting. I think the CEO knows that he's cried wolf one too many times with regards to FSD. And they know that his word doesn't really mean much in terms of saying when it's going to be Robotaxi, etc. So moving on to the other employees makes sense. But, they're not saying this thing's going to be solved this year. They're just saying it's going to accelerate, which I think everyone agrees with. So it's very curious, though, because there's a lot of employees coming out and saying this, and they were never saying anything before. I feel like they might have been nudged to start saying things by the CEO.
Maybe, but I think that like Rohan Patel, for example, who I've talked with personally, he admitted to the fact that, you know, in the past he didn't really use FSD beta all that much because he would himself would have quite a few disengagements, interventions. But that has changed quite a bit with FSD 12. So it's certainly possible. Like Elon was like, "Hey guys, start talking about FSD more on X." That's certainly possible. But I also think they themselves have seen a huge improvement in the technology that they want to talk about it. So, but yeah, certainly Elon probably said something.
I don't think so. You think Ashok's pretending because Elon told him to? I don't think so.
Well, we
This
have,
is just like the most cynical viewpoint.
Beyond FSD, though, we have seen just Tesla executives in general just become more involved in X, and I don't think that was just a coincidence. All of a sudden, they all at the same time just started being like, "Let's share more." Elon was probably like, "You know, you guys are fine to share more online. Like, go ahead and do that," and then they probably just did it.
I don't think there was a probably in there. It was, you guys go do that, or else. And if anyone knows anyone who works very close to Elon Musk, this guy's got like a big red button. You come in his office and you say the wrong thing, he hits the button and you drop through the floor out of the company down a chute. You know, so if someone's going to come in and he says, tweet more, post more about FSD, if they say no, he hits the button and they go. That's the most likely.
Do you know anyone?
Absolutely.
Who survived?
Who survived? Yeah. Yeah. But then they get so exhausted that they're going to, anyways, I won't get into it. But yes, I do know people, very Tesla and SpaceX, very close, you know, maybe like 2 levels away. So they have meetings with him sometimes. So like, you know, people aren't going to say no to him or they don't survive.
I messaged you on YouTube Live. Let's bring Joseph in here.
Yeah, as for being cynical, I mean, like, yeah, I guess, like, I'm, you know, I'm just trying to be realistic with my thoughts, and obviously my thoughts sometimes disagree with everyone. The you know, perma bulls.
Okay, all right. Just
I can't tell you exactly when this happened, but I do remember reading that sometime last year, the rules were loosened for Tesla employees and their ability to speak for the company. And I believe last year, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the first time they were really encouraged to speak. So part of this could just be a natural inclination towards that.
okay. Joseph, was it you earlier who said Santa Monica tore down and there's a gap or there's an empty space? Okay.
I saw the same stuff that whoever it was talking about, but no.
Okay. Well, Antonio, who used to be one of the senior engineers at Santa Monica, says he'd be willing to come in after work to chat about it. So maybe he will. That would be great. Kai Liang, machine.
No, I just want to say, you know, congratulations to you. I've noticed that your spaces numbers are going up, even on like the slow days. It looks like you've 2x'd your listenership, and you know, you got people, real legitimate people, like not just Twitter bros coming on. Like, I'll come on and talk. It looks like your viewership's growing exponentially.
Yeah, the audience is growing for sure, and number of speakers are growing, engagement is growing, all numbers headed in the right direction. I just have to make sure the quality stays high. That's the number one focus. Even if it's 10 people, quality needs to be like, if it takes reducing the number of audience to much, like, you know, you get what I was trying to say.
Why do you keep
Kai
bringing?
Lang.
then?
Kai.
Hello. Yes. So yeah,
What's your
in this couple of days, I want to talk about a little bit of the FSD, the 12.3.3, and by the time I get it, it's running like pretty smooth and stuff. But lately, I'm not sure it's the mapping problem, the navigation problem. A lot of people got into the version of 12, and then like it just feel like lacking by the time like it need to make a decision. Is it? I'm not sure if this is like the navigation problem because it run on navigation, right? When we rolling, but when it's not right, so telling the car is like, oh, where should I go? You know, what mapping is Tesla using, and then what navigation is Tesla using? Maybe that's the huge problem that lack of the FSD behind is that because the car is execution when it's no lacking, it's so fast like this, and then like it make the move. But when it's like come to like a traffic in Chicago, the circle, and then it just lack himself when it need to like navigate supposed to be a right, and then it just afraid to turn the right sometimes or afraid to turn the left.
All
So
right. Thank you. Omar, do you think, when do you think Tesla loses reliance on maps? What's Tesla FSD using today for map hints? Where does it get its data? And how would you have observed the different versions of FSD over time? Rely either on the cameras versus maps. Do you think that mix has changed over time?
Well, I'm not sure his issue has anything to do with mapping at all. If it's hesitant to make a right turn into a roundabout, what does that have to do with the map? It's hesitating because it's not sure if it's clear to enter.
All right. Kai, I see you're a first-time speaker. Would you like to give us a few sentences on your background? Just a couple of sentences, just so that I know, where, are you an investor? How long have you been in the stock? What's your professional career expertise? So I can gauge what questions I can ask you in the future. Kai Liang? All right. Man, this space is a mess today. What is going on? Go ahead, machine.
So yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but do I have an echo now?
No, you're fine.
All right. I was just going to address. There's a question in the YouTube live from Ethan DeVry University, asking about why are folks worried about inventory count and decreasing prices. He says, to me, it's just a short-term effect. It doesn't change anything about the core business. But that's exactly the problem, is that decreasing prices isn't necessarily a short-term effect. Like, of course, they're going to rebound somewhat with interest rates cuts and people's sentiment on EVs, improving again. But we don't know how much. We don't know what is the steady state sort of demand for EVs, Tesla vehicles, and forecasting out how much earnings are going to be over the next 2-3 years becomes difficult when you have that uncertainty. So people can model 10% gross margins. They can model 15, 20%. 10% is obviously obnoxious, but 25%, and you're going to get huge different valuations for the company. So that's why it matters.
Nobody gives a fuck. Okay? Your thesis is that people don't want Teslas. People cannot get enough of this stuff. It's like crack. The Bears, I just listened to their arguments and I'm like, man, these are very weak arguments. These guys are so detached from what's actually happening.
You are so detached from what's happening, apparently, because Tesla has cut prices an enormous amount in the last year. And the used car prices for Teslas, and it's not just Teslas, it's all EVs, have gone down plummeted in the last year and a half. Tesla's gross margins have gotten cut like a 10% off. Their operating margin went from a high of like 17% down now to 7 to 8%. So no, things are not hot in demand. Okay, the Cybertruck is a different situation, but the rest of the Tesla vehicles, there's demand problems right now. That's not to say that it's a long-term issue. There's going to be enough demand even as they increase production, but we don't know exactly what gross margins they're going to be able to allow. That's a legitimate investing question.
Boo fucking who. It doesn't matter. Okay. Not every year is going to be a crazy growth year. Some years are going to be a little down, some years are going to be a little bit up. Does that change the long-term thesis? No. Does that change what's happening with FSD? Does it change the fact that they've got a next-gen platform that they're going to put into production, which is going to sell more than all these other vehicles combined? This is really focusing on the forest for the trees, all while they remain the #1 best-selling BEV brand on Earth. They remain the #1 most profitable EV brand on Earth, while launching new businesses that are going to be massive growth drivers into the future. And people are saying, oh, they're never going to grow. Get real. Come on.
All right. Housekeeping item. Omar, I sent you a message as well. I pinned at the top of our screens a message I received from YouTube for yesterday's space. Yesterday's space is now limited for ad revenue. This video may earn limited or no ad revenue due to content identified as not suitable for most advertisers. We use a combination of automated systems and human reviews to detect violations of our advertiser-friendly content guidelines. Okay. And that was probably because, my guess, I don't know for sure, it was probably because of F-bombs. Okay, so going forward, I have to crack down on it. Because even if 1 or 2 drops, then what happens is it automatically gets flagged for by the algorithm. It has to be reviewed by humans, and that takes time. And because this is a daily space, people usually don't watch going back. So then that episode is gone. So I have to kind of crack down on. Sorry, guys. I want to be able to do it too, but this is the nature of the game.
Well, this is very unfortunate for Omar, who can't go one episode without cussing left and right. I've bought a bar of soap. I'm going to send it to him in the mail. And every time he swears, he has to wash his mouth out. Soap.
All right. Okay, so we have on the board now Antonio Dinino, who used to work for Sandy Munro. Right, Antonio, welcome.
Thank you. How's the volume?
How are you doing? How everything is great. How are you doing? How is the new role?
Oh, I love it. We get to cause more destruction and chaos, but it's fun.
All right, that's great. I'm sure you've been following Cybertruck. Do you have any initial thoughts on the Cybertruck?
I mean, I've got to see it, I got to look at some things, but I think the big thing was that battery pack question, right?
That's right. Yes. So there was a article, I guess, that claimed the battery pack had some space in it still. What are your...
So the pictures are a bit out of context. The picture is an upside down battery pack. If you look at the other pictures of it before they turned it over, you can see that the main depth of the pack was in the positive Z direction. So that's where most of the cells sitting, which is like reverse of the Model Y structural pack. So when they took this one apart, they took off the bottom of the pack, which is where the vent channels were on the other structural pack. Those vent channels are used to keep, in the event of a thermal event where the electrolyte is breaking down, it forces the gases to not hit a explosion or ignitable point by pushing them out of the pack. You can see the mica is perforated, so it's more likely to blow out instead of building up pressure. And you can see little holes where the vent channel should be on the end. So this is definitely the bottom of the pack. There's about maybe an inch to a half inch of space there for that gas flow that is designed in. But I don't know if there's any like special channels like they had on the other one, but that's what it looks like to me.
Okay, great. Have you been able to drive the Cybertruck?
Not yet. Sandy did offer it, so whenever I see him, I'm going to ask him about it.
All right, good. So are you still?
Pardon?
Are you still in Michigan?
Yes, I'm. The CATO facility is less than a mile away from Sandy's place.
Okay, that's great. Is there anything about the Cybertruck that surprised you over the last, it's been around now for about 5 months? Anything that you've seen, anything that you noticed that you weren't expecting?
The interior is a lot more roomy than I thought. So I've been in the Hummer, the Rivian, I've been in the Lightning, and all of those felt pretty well compacted. But the interior of the Cybertruck was nice and like open. It felt like you weren't constricted at all. So they use their space much better. Looking at some of the pictures, it looks like their thermal system has evolved a lot. So I do believe one of the pictures showed like a what was it, the octovalve system. It's like that got upgraded a little bit. So be interested to see what they tear out of that.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep an eye out on that. We'll keep an eye out on the Cybertruck's thermal system and any upgrades to the octavalve. Any questions for Antonio, who is extremely knowledgeable about teardowns? He used to work at Sandy Munro, now works at CATL. Any questions for him, please request to speak. Machine, do you have any questions for him?
No.
How do you actually see the cogs of the Cybertruck? Do you see it as less than the S or X, or in terms of what you have seen with, for example, the new features they've been able to add, but also with being able to not have paint, for example, compared to the other vehicles?
Not having paint, like I feel like Tesla has been moving towards the wrap for a little while. It's a little cheaper option. It's has some pros and cons. So they're definitely looking for other options since it's cheaper. That's just going to be a running change for Tesla. And I'm pretty sure any new vehicles will probably have some of these new changes implemented in them as soon as possible. So even the newer Model Y, the newer Model 3, the Highland, those might have some of these newer features. Although I don't know how much of them will have to be tailored for the new 48-volt system that's in there.
Antonio, we've had some questions and concerns about the repairability of the Cybertruck's stainless steel body. What would you say to those people?
It depends on how picky they are about the aesthetics. Because that is like a very, very clean sheet of metal. Any dings or dents or waviness that you put into it through bumping something or backing into something, that's not going to go away easily, but it'll be hard to damage in the first place.
Got it. And what do you think of all the, early on, a couple of months ago, we had some articles written about the rust or corrosion when it rains. What do you think of those concerns?
Not a concern. I'm in Michigan right now. When I was at Tesla, I did raise a concern about some corrosion issues, and I spoke with the engineering team there, and they were on it. So they were trying to solve that problem probably back whenever COVID was just starting. The one I was worried about was like water intrusion causing hydrogen embrittlement, and they changed the chemistry of the metal enough to actually address that issue as well. Anything you're seeing is probably going to be like sap marks or some other foreign debris, but it's not going to be corrosion on itself because mostly your surface of the metal is going to be high in nickel as opposed to iron. So you're going to have more of a chrome nickel oxide, which will not be the same orange color that you would expect.
Okay, great. Any questions for Antonio? Please request to speak. Antonio, what do you think about the yoke steering, the steer-by-wire? That is very popular with anybody who's driven the Cybertruck. I've driven the Cybertruck as well. There's a bunch of them in Austin now. One of my friends has it. And, it's an incredible feature of the Cybertruck, in my opinion, that makes you wonder, why isn't every other car like this? Do you think we're going to see increased use of steer-by-wire? What are your thoughts around that topic?
Steer-by-wire will become commonplace because of this, no doubt. The auto industry respawns the first movers, and it's been avoided because established business lines and contracts set up for steering column manufacturers, for the hydraulic systems involved. So now that somebody has done this and shown that it can be done and that it's better and cheaper, everyone's going to start moving that direction. It should have been done years ago, but I do believe that'll be the common trend going forward.
Okay, before I go to Temp for his question, Antonio, did you expect brake-by-wire on the Cybertruck, or do you expect that for Robotaxi and future vehicles?
Brake-by-wire is... I'm not sure of the regulations involved with braking, but I would expect that could be done. I haven't seen too many concerns or any motions to go that direction, but yeah, it could easily be the next step.
Great, thank you. Temp?
Hey, Antonio. So it looks like it could be a lot of fun working with Monroe and doing teardowns. I'm not sure what your role was there, but maybe you could just tell us what was your favorite part of the job, and maybe tearing down those battery packs looks like it's pretty hellish. Maybe you could tell us what your least favorite part was.
Yeah, easily the best part was some of the people I got to work with. Julian and Tom and Mike. We had a nice little working group there, and we compared our experiences and our knowledge sets, and we were able to learn from each other quite a bit. Aside from that, I love being exposed to different models and different types and the variations to see what everyone else is doing, what the industry trends are, what the good and bad habits of each group is, as well as some innovations. So that's the best part. The worst part is just it's an office environment. People have ideas and ways of doing things, and I don't always agree with them. And some are efficient, some are not efficient, and depending on who it is, it's who you have to listen to. But that's anywhere.
Thanks.
Any questions from the board, speaker board? Any questions from listeners? All right. Antonio, do you expect so Elon tweeted Robotaxi unveiled on August 8th. If you had to make 3 predictions about a new purpose-built Robotaxi, what predictions would you make?
Let's see. Because the current version of FSD is mostly the updates have been city-based, it'll be mostly inner-city driving, I would imagine. There's still some things to fix on the full self-driving for highway, particularly when it comes to merging or dealing with other cars that are doing weird things. So I expect this to be more of an urban thing to start with. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a Model 2 preview or something at the same time, just because Elon goes by the assumption always have a surprise in the pocket. So I always expect something. I just don't know what it'll be. But that's about all I've got on that.
Okay, got it. You've seen pictures of the Cybertruck initial build and a lot of drone videos being published of hundreds, if not thousands of Cybertrucks already. What's your initial kind of take on the build quality from as far as you can see?
It's a new version of a vehicle, and it's going to have build quality issues. Things misaligned. I don't think there's going to be much on the scratch or dent end just because of the way they decide to build it. But yeah, misalignments are going to be there. Most of the stuff you're not going to notice just because of the way it's constructed. I mean, even my car, it's a Model Y, which had several years of iteration to get it perfected, still has some alignment issues. And then I'm looking at new vehicles from like the established makers, and they all have alignment issues. So I don't think it's that big of an issue when it comes to aesthetics. Yeah, it's a new vehicle. Expect some things to be different. Expect with Tesla it to be outdated within 6 months. So that's going to be the norm.
Okay, Temp.
What can you tell us about what your role is right now at CATL and what that's like?
I am a advanced failure analysis engineer. I'm not really allowed to speak too much on my what I do at work, but I figure out why things go bad and I correct it.
That's great. All right. And then my final question to you, Antonio, and if there's anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question to this wealth of knowledge person who worked at San Domingo for how many years, Antonio?
What was the question?
Well, how many years did you work at San Domingo with San Domingo?
I was there for about 1.5 years. Before that, I was at Tesla for just short of 4 years, and before that, I was a failure analysis corrosion engineer in Pittsburgh for about 10 years.
Got it. What do you think is going through the minds of Jim Farley and Mary Barra looking at the Cybertruck?
I think they're wondering how they can spin the lack of demand issue that they've been publicizing with these things selling so quickly. They have a product, they have visibility, they have advertising, and they're not able to move it. And I think it's just a bit of the economic situation where things are becoming less affordable, and the fact that a major competitor is putting out an expensive product and it is selling as well or better than what they've got going right now, which they're asking questions of their team. They're trying to cut price, cut cost. They're looking for ways to make their stuff competitive. And I'm sure they're trying to get a hold of some to find out some of these things themselves as well. Like, what are they doing different? What can we copy? What can we implement and make our save cost? Their cost saving teams, like what Monroe and Associates used to be for FCA, those groups are going to be very busy looking at these things whenever they do get a chance to get a hold of one.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And please come back, as you have time, if you have time. I know you have a busy job, and thanks for stopping by today. I appreciate that.
No, it's a pleasure. Let me know if there's any topics you ever need to just send me a message. If there's a technical question that comes up, I'll be happy to jump on.
Perfect. And I'll send you a DM so we can exchange some messages over there too when a question comes up. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Great talking.
All right. Omar, how you doing over there?
I'm chilling. I'm feeling excited. I'm reading this job posting for the prototype vehicle operator. There seems to be a lot of them across the country. So I'm wondering, what prototype vehicle is that exactly?
The Robotaxi machine. Did you see this more? I pinned it at the top. Prototype vehicle operator in Miami, Littleton, Colorado, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, Bellevue, Washington, Draper, Utah, Jacksonville, Florida, Houston, Texas. So they're hiring prototype vehicle operators across the country. What do you make of that? Joseph.
I was going to ask
Machine. Go ahead.
Omar, that list, do you find significance in the particular cities? Like, I haven't overlaid that yet with the states that by default allow autonomous vehicles to be on the road. I was wondering if there's a significance to those cities.
I don't think there's any significance in terms of autonomy. I think they're just trying to achieve a good geographic distribution. But they would want to do that if they were testing, a Robotaxi or just a Model 3 Ludicrous.
I have a question for you, Omar. Let's assume that Elon has all of a sudden become even more bullish on FSD from FSD 12 performance, and he's decided to go, I don't know if the word is all in, but full steam ahead with the Robotaxi. Do you think it makes sense for them to then just put the $25,000 version with the steering wheel sort of on the back burner, not cancel it, just sort of put it on the shelf and do the Robotaxis now? Or does it make sense to do both at the same time? Or do the Robotaxi later still and just the $25,000 steering wheel version first?
Look, this thing about them delaying or canceling the $25,000 car, I think it's complete BS. Everybody I've talked to, nobody said it's canceled. It's going to be made on literally the same production line. If they get the production line up, if they're shipping the batteries, the drivetrain, the motor, they're ready to ship, for example, the compact crossover or the van too. And I've had some conversations with suppliers, and I was very surprised at the timeline they've been asked to provide these parts for, and the volume they're expecting. So this is absolutely, I think, still a plan. Nothing has changed there. I think they want to show off the Robotaxi. I think it's, time. Obviously, it's not going to be out yet. If you want to see this thing out and about collecting data, then you should unveil it first, right? Don't have people just randomly see it in the street. Unveil it, talk about it, and then have these guys go and start collecting data and everything. So I think people are going to be very surprised by how far Tesla has actually gone on the compact crossover.
All right. We have a number of new speakers on the board. We have Antonio, who used to work with Sandy Munro as well as Tesla before, and his role at Tesla was laboratory scientist, technician, and quality technician. He was at Tesla for nearly 4 years and worked with Sandy Munro for a year and a half. Any questions for Antonio, whom we don't usually get? So if you have a technical question for Antonio, now is the time to request to speak.
Hey, thanks for letting jump in. A question for, for the previous topic, not for Antonio. I hear a lot of discussion on the Robotaxi hardware. We're gonna come out with a Robotaxi car, and then the whole postponing of the $25,000 car. But aren't 2 million Robotaxis already on the street, potential Robotaxis anyway? And are we not considering the current FSD equipped cars to be on the network at all? And secondly, my other question would be, if you look at James Dama's analysis of about how many robotaxis be required for addressing current market, and we know we're going to grow the market once robotaxi comes out, but just to address the current market, no more than 1 million cars is about what would be needed. So in general, why is the discussion focused on the robotaxi hardware rather than the FSD network? I mean, just my kind of what's going through my mind right now.
Okay.
Anyone? Well, if you want to have a lowest cost of operation robotaxi, you're going to have to design it from scratch. And that's why it seems like it's going to be based on Musk's, tweet responses to some people, it's going to be a 2-seater, and, it might have some different design functionalities that they can do because they maybe don't have mirrors, or, they don't have to seat the passengers facing forward. Although they might. I mean, just there's different things you can do now to save space, and make the battery be. There'll probably be different versions, but one version could probably be a battery that's like 25 kilowatt hours, because most robotaxi rides are a few miles at a time, and these things can be recharged every day. Robotaxis aren't traveling 200 miles a day. So you're going to design a vehicle like that that's small, because that's going to be the cheapest. It's going to be the cheapest to operate, and it's going to outcompete all the other Tesla vehicles for general robotaxi services in cities. Now, outside of that, you're going to have edge cases where people want to travel for longer distances or with more people. And, I don't know if they're going to design a van shuttle for those cases or not. But otherwise, there might be some use case for the bigger vehicles to, take people around. You could do a Model 3, a Model Y, and have 4 or 5 people. You could do a little bit more with the S and X. And if you're driving your mom's mom around, you can put her in the Cybertruck trunk.
This is probably the largest space in which you've made that joke. Oh.
So there seems to be a lot of confusion about what this event is. This event is not about the FSD software. Okay. It may be mentioned ancillary to the event, but all the vehicles run FSD, of course. All the vehicles can run robotaxis. Nothing, at least theoretically, nothing has changed there. There's no change in the company's strategy. Tesla has come up with what they call the next gen platform. They are going to produce cars on this next gen platform using what they call the unboxed process. They're going to set up the first line in Austin and then expand into Mexico and also Berlin. So, with this unboxed process, they have a number of innovations. They have 48 volt, they have steer by wire, they have a new battery pack architecture where they can use any cell chemistry in a structural pack. They, of course, use large structural castings. It's much more modular. And, so there's a number of new innovations there that they're bringing. And they're going to be able to make multiple different kinds of vehicle on the same production line. This lets you have a smaller factory, more efficient footprint, et cetera, et cetera. Elon Musk has been saying this is a revolution. It's this huge new thing that we're doing, right? So that is what has been happening. Tesla's been working on the successor to the 3 and why. This is the next gen platform. They say we expect production volumes on this to be greater once it's fully ramped than S3, X, and Y combined. And so the Robotaxi is one vehicle that's going to be built on the next gen platform. It sounds like a vehicle that's smaller, that's a two-seater, that has more physical space because of the lack of controls. So it's smaller, it's cheaper, it has a lower cost per mile, but you actually have more room, you're more comfortable in there. So that's one variant they're going to build. Based on some of the hints Elon's been dropping on Twitter, they're also planning a compact crossover, codenamed Redwood. And they're also working on some type of van that's configured for cargo or people. So what we're seeing in August is a vehicle hardware reveal, the first vehicle on the next gen platform. And I imagine that they're going to talk about the next gen platform a little bit too, maybe. And they may talk a little bit about FSD, the softer side of it, the Tesla network, what that's going to look like. I'm sure they're going to touch on that too, given what the vehicle is. But this is primarily showing off their design for what this Robotaxi vehicle is going to look like. And it's our first glimpse at a vehicle on the next gen platform. If all goes well, this thing should go into production about a year from when it's unveiled.
Can I add something?
Of course, go ahead.
So when he was saying about hardware, one of the things I was thinking is if you're having a robotaxi, which is autonomous and on its own, charging is going to be a little bit more difficult because you're not going to have attendance at your charging station. So this might be a good opportunity for them to unveil like a wireless charging system as well.
Thank you. Question for you on longevity of the Cybertruck. What do you think about the unique materials potentially being susceptible to degradation mechanisms unseen in traditional automotive materials, stress, corrosion, cracking, etc.? How do you think Cybertruck longevity will compare to, let's say, that of the best-selling truck right now, F-150?
Well, being in Michigan, this is a state without vehicle inspection requirements. So a lot of these vehicles are rusting to bits around the wheel wells, the baseboards. So I think on a comparative level to existing vehicles for corrosion, I haven't seen a Tesla rusting out yet. Any of them. It may have happened, but I haven't seen it. So I think they're going to do better in that aspect. As for hitting a pothole and your panel shifting because there's almost no flexibility in the steel, that might become an issue.
Got you. earlier in this space, we had somebody come up, Antonio, and this is one of the, prior board members, generally bullish about about Tesla for years, who called the Cybertruck a failed product. What do you think about the production ramp of the Cybertruck so far? Do you think there's anything where do you think is holding up the production ramp? And where do you see it going from here through the end of the year and next year?
So production ramps are hard. When I was at Tesla, we were going from, I think it was 2,500 packs per week to the 10,000 packs per week. That was our goal. And the machinery didn't change, but the way we ran it, the way we fixed errors, the way we prevented errors from reoccurring, the production side is going to be the limiting factor on the scaling. So they have new methods, they have new product, they have new materials, they have new assembly methods. All of these are going to require refinement, reiteration, redundancies, and things in place so that if something goes down, it doesn't cause the whole system to crash. So getting the process improved is going to cause their output numbers to improve as well. And I think that's just going to be the big issue right now.
Akshay?
I just had a soft question about the hardware since we were talking about it on Robotaxi. Does anyone envisage, say, like a little control panel screen or otherwise in place of obviously the missing, driving controls, where you might be able to just get the car out of a jam, as a user, like, maybe respond to very basic prompts or create some inputs for the car to navigate certain situations, or would that already put it out of qualification for being a robotaxi, or like no driver intervention? Would that be like a fixed requirement? How do people think about this?
Ashi?
All robotaxis will come included with an NES 8-bit game controller in the glove box that you can plug in to USB port to control the vehicle in worst case. And then if you get the $1,000 bonus package, you'll get the glove that used to come with NES to control the car. Power glove, that's what it was called.
I'm sorry, I'm new to the forum. Is this a sarcastic answer or is this a real answer?
Oh, that's when you know it's good sarcasm, when people can't tell if it's real or sarcasm.
Yeah, I'm failing.
I don't really understand when people. Sasha, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just jumping on, and I had a little lag. I'll wait for the next question.
You have a question for Antonio?
No, not really. I was just thinking about this control question for a potential robotaxi without any steering wheel, and thinking about if it gets jammed. I don't know if it got answered because I was jumping on the space, but I could imagine that probably the most elegant solution would be like if you're sitting in the back and the car gets jammed and it's like a police officer waving you over, that you could talk to the car. That would probably be the coolest thing.
Machine.
I think the third option, well, there's two more options. One is you can via Bluetooth control with your phone. There's gonna be some lag, but I bet that would work in emergency cases to kind of adjust the vehicle. And then the fourth option will be one that I think Omar has volunteered to test out, is that there's going to be a Neuralink option that you can get electrodes embedded under your skull, and then you'll be able to control the car just by thinking about it.
Antonio, we have a question for you from YouTube live chat. Nat Painter asks, how is the supply of tooling machines? And could Tesla begin to make their own temp humidity controlled machines, or are there enough diversified suppliers, machinists?
For which machine was that in reference to again?
Just in general, tooling machines, the question asks, for the Cybertruck.
Yeah, Tesla has hit a point where if they put out a purchase order, it's the people are going to start production on whatever parts they're ordering. So aside from that, there's still on large parts a year to 2 years of delay just to get everything assembled or to get next in line. But yet again, Tesla can pay to jump to the front of the line if they need to or if they want to, which they probably will. But yeah, like battery assembly stuff, that's easily a year to 2 years of lead time. Some of the larger Hydra stuff, I imagine, is 18 months to 2 years.
Thank you. And in YouTube live chat, Ken asks if FSD can do a Michigan left-hand turn. Antonio.
I don't know. I'm not a FSD tester, so that would be more for like a dirty Tesla or Chuck Cook out there.
Did you not get your free trial?
Well, the problem is that in Michigan, the people aren't very smart, and so there's actually no left turns. They all turn right continuously. If you want left turns, you have to go to a smarter state like Ohio, what the Ohio State University is.
Weren't they just staring at the solar eclipse all day?
Irrelevant, but true.
Peter.
Antonio, have you spent much time working on the 4680 battery cells? Can you speak to that?
Yes, I spent a lot of time working on some components of the cell.
Cool. And then what, in your opinion, I guess, or from your experience, what was kind of the biggest bottleneck with those batteries, and why is it taking so long to ramp up the production? Could you speak a little bit about that, just the whole process, and where do you see it going in the future? I guess there are three questions in there.
The biggest difference between manufacturing a battery and manufacturing a car is the require for extremely clean processes. You can't have any contamination getting a battery, or it's going to cause an unintended chemical reaction. So getting everything to be mass produced at high speed in a clean way was very difficult. It's kind of like you have to have your paint shop requirements for your entire process.
Got you.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. So I guess, where do you see, I guess, in the next, I don't know, year to two, is Tesla going to be able to achieve their goals that they announced at the Battery Day, even though they're, substantially delayed already? Where do you see, that going?
Let's see. I think they're nearly there. Like the only thing I'm really waiting on is the dry cathode, which we should be able to confirm should anyone get a cell anytime soon. I know Jordan's on here. I know he's trying to get one. The other one is silicon in the anode. they've already changed some dimensional things to improve their power density, their energy density. So all the battery day stuff should be checked off at this point.
So at this point, they're just waiting. So basically, just getting to the volume production at this point. That's the only thing that's left, I guess.
Right, and like if they're producing as many vehicles they are now, they're hitting pretty decent volume. It's just getting more lines up and getting them all debugged, essentially.
That's great. As far as kind of energy density, I guess we're on the second generation of that battery cell. Do you think that the third gen is going to have a big improvement in the density as they hoped?
I think we might actually be on the third gen at this point. But yeah, I think all you can really do at that point is change the chemistry to go to more high nickel, or I don't know, just change some internal things like with the taping process or how tightly it's wound to get more in there. I know Jordan has looked at some issues already that they have changed, and he has confirmed some of this. So we're looking. I don't think there's anything else other than getting that dry cathode process, which will be more of a cost save than an energy improvement.
Cool. Yeah, man. It would be great if we could get Jordan to come up and ask some better questions than I can, since I don't know as much as he does about the batteries, obviously. Thank you.
Yep, he's welcome to request to speak. I'll send an invite too. In the meantime, Reggie, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to answer the gentleman's question about how they would control the Robotaxi if it ever gets stuck. I would imagine, and someone still hasn't proved me wrong, how Waymo does their controls. As I read many articles a while back, that they don't actually do a physical control. It's more about almost like a chat GPT. Chat GPT is give it inputs and then allow the car to determine if that input is safe or not to make that maneuver. So I'd imagine Tesla will implement something like that. Excuse me. And my next question is for Antonio. As far as your days at either Tesla or the other company you recently left, what's the process of getting on a secret team, if you will, to a prototype team for these new vehicles? Is there a process, or is that something you have to be selected for? And were you ever selected for one of those secret projects?
Yeah, 4680 was a secret project. It was called Roadrunner. And it was more of a, hey, you have a skill set or specialty that requires this, and you're doing testing now. So there's like no grand orientation, but there's a whole bunch of NDAs and stuff you have to sign along the way.
Thank you, Antonio.
Antonio, what was your role at Tesla? Looking at your LinkedIn profile, you worked 3 years at Tesla before you joined Simon Monroe for 1.5 years, and now you're CATL. What was your role? What did you work on over there?
So I started off as a quality tech because it's really hard to get into Tesla, and they put you where you need you. So I learned how to do the module assembly from cell level up to the pack level. After a couple of months, they realized I was pretty useful in the laboratory, so I moved over there and was doing a lot of validation testing, problem solving. Ended up having a specialty in cleanliness, which is how I know about the 4680 process efficiency and cleanliness issues. But I also worked a lot with chemical testing and just general troubleshooting, from everything from the Blackbird and carbon fiber wrapped rotors to plumbing issues in the building. So a wide spectrum of specialties.
Thank you. Jordan, welcome. How are you?
Not too bad. I saw Antonio in there, so I thought I'd drop in.
How's it going?
Well, thanks for dropping in. We're looking for questions to ask Antonio, but obviously, we don't have the technical expertise that you have. Would you like to ask him any questions that we can kind of be a fly on the wall for?
Well, he just mentioned something called Blackbird. What's that?
So everyone's more familiar with, I think, the Raven concept, the Model 3 performance rotor, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, so that was Blackbird.
Interesting.
Cool. Oh, and I had Antonio, you mentioned me, must have been a couple months ago, about Oxiel. I had a chat with them as well. That was a pretty interesting chat with them. Yeah, I thought carbon nanotubes were something that were years and years away, but they're starting to scale carbon nanotubes. But yeah, I don't know if that's worth getting into here. I'm trying to think of a good question for you. I missed most of the earlier conversation, so I don't know what you guys have been talking about. Did you already discuss the potential for that? You said that the pack there's channels for venting, and you don't think there's enough space in there to add another layer of battery cells. It's just for venting.
Correct.
Okay.
Mateo, go ahead.
Question about Robotaxi. Do you guys think that Robotaxi is going to be two separate vehicles, or is it going to be the same vehicle, one with controls and one without controls? Because I just don't see it. It doesn't seem likely that Tesla's going to come out with a vehicle and it's just going to be Robotaxi. It just doesn't seem like that's something a lot of people are going to buy. So it seems likely that they'll put the Robotaxi and it'll just have two variants instead of just one. I just seeing what you guys thought about that.
Omar?
Well, they're planning to produce multiple different vehicles with the next gen platform. The Robotaxi is not going to have any steering wheel or pedals. So they have a compact crossover that's a similar size to the Robotaxi. And that's going to be a fairly traditional interior layout with 2 seats in the front, a center console in the middle, and 3 seats in the back. So your typical 5 seat, 5 seat 4-door car. Now the Robotaxi, from what we understand from some of the prototype images we've seen and also from Musk's comments, is probably going to be a 2-seater. So you're really going to see them use that interior space in a much different way. I don't expect necessarily just 5 seats facing forward. I mean, it really opens up, Pandora's box when you take out the controls. And the thing is just going to control itself all the time. It'll be able to call out for remote help if needed, or in an emergency scenario, you can just simply use the touchscreen that's on the car. So it'll show the cameras and you can just tap and you can get it to kind of move where you're tapping. Pretty simple. So they're going to do the Robotaxi. Now, of course, there's all this controversy. People are saying, well, isn't this a little reckless? What if the software isn't ready? What's going to happen? But, you heard Musk in the spaces. He tells his team, look, if you guys aren't blowing up a rocket engine every once in a while, we're not working hard enough. We're not pushing things enough. This is the goal. You guys are going to go achieve it. Push them out of the plane with the parachute and hope they figure out how to land. This is how he kind of motivates his team. It's crazy, but that's how he's gotten them to do crazy things. Now, if we get to 2025, 2026, and there's no autonomy, it's not going to be the end of the world to reconfigure which vehicles are produced, reallocate different vehicle, production schedules based on what quantity of vehicles are needed for the Robotaxi. But they're saying, look, we need to design a Robotaxi, we need to build a Robotaxi, and that's what they're going to do. But it doesn't mean, for example, that they're not going to make a van or going to make a compact crossover that's more traditional. It's not really just adding or removing a steering wheel. It's not, do you want the steering wheel version or not want the steering wheel version? It's really going to be a very different interior, and it may be unveiled at a separate event as at a separate vehicle, even though it's going to be made on the same production line.
Thanks, Omar. Quick note of thank you. Quick note of thank you to Galaxy Blue and Joseph Foster for joining Patreon. If you like to support the space, that brings together the likes of Omar, Antonio, Jordan, thanks for stopping by today, and many others, including our machine. You may support the space at the top of our screens on Patreon. Question for you, Antonio, in the replies. CATL has announced a number of partnerships with automakers in the US. There were some rumors of partnering with Tesla as well. The question specifically asks, Tesla purchased equipment from CATL to set up a battery line. Are you involved in this project?
I did read about that in the news. Tesla does have a lot of battery experts. If they call, I'd be happy to help. But I can't say what I'm involved with or not involved with at this point.
Got it. Great. Thank you very much. Jordan, do you have any other questions for Antonio?
I know I talked to him quite a bit. So generally, when something pops into my head, we have a chat about it. Vice versa. I'm trying to think of something that we could discuss, but nothing's coming to me.
Yeah, you can ask any technical questions too. A lot of people listen to these spaces again later on. A number of people go on YouTube and kind of rewind, fast forward to specific sections they interest. So don't be afraid to go into the details, the nitty gritty, the weeds of any technical questions. Machine?
Jordan, is it true that people of Ohio are vastly more intelligent than the people of Michigan?
Is this an Ohioan asking by any chance?
Maybe.
No comment. Any other questions?
Reggie.
I had a question for Antonio or Jordan. Are the Teslas built today, are they million-mile batteries?
Depends on the starting conditions. If you're doing 75 to 25% every day and not stressing it, yeah, easily.
Now, are you talking about the nickel chemistry or the LFP chemistry? Are you talking about both?
The LFP does have more chance to get to that million-mile mark, but if you baby your battery, it's going to last a lot longer than if you're aggressive with it. Heat is the enemy, so don't let it get too hot. Don't over discharge it at high C rates. Supercharging and charging is going to have high charge rates, but that's unavoidable, and it's not as hot as discharging. But yeah, you can probably get close to 1 million miles of a nickel battery at 70%. It's just really not stressing the battery, and I think Don has showed this as well.
Antonio, question in the replies: why did you leave Tesla?
Kind of got stuck. I had a skill set, but everyone else getting hired for higher the positions that I was doing the work of had PhDs or were fresh out of some good college, and after 3 or 4 times getting passed up for a position that I was capable of, I just started looking around at other options.
Thank you.
So
do you want to know? Go ahead.
So
Jordan,
to be clear, I know that we can do like nickel-based batteries with that can do 1 million miles, but can you give us any more texture there on as to how you know that the current batteries going into Tesla vehicles can do 1 million miles?
Just based on what I've seen off of Jeff Dawn's research, he's been able to show like not deep depths of discharge or charge cycles could do high mileage with low degradation at 25C. So it's like your basic physics major joke where you say, sure, but we have to do it at absolute zero with certain conditions. It's it can be done, but under normal load cycles, it's not likely to get there.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Hey Antonio, I'd like to ask, when you say the 1 million mile battery and it could, the LFP can easily make it there. My question is, when we say 1 million miles, do we mean the is that when the capacity falls below the 80% rated capacity that is typical standard benchmark in the industry for when a battery is no longer useful, or are we talking when the battery is bricked 1 million miles? No, this is usually the 70 to 80% range. This is the warranty type question. How much reliability is in the battery before it becomes a cost issue for a warranty? So I know CATL just released something in the press about their 1 million mile warranties. So I imagine other people will be moving towards those as well. Thanks for clarifying.
Antonio, are you able to invest in Tesla stock? And you don't have to answer this question. Or do you have Tesla stock today? Are you an investor in the company?
I was, and then I had to sell it all to move out to Michigan. So not at the moment.
Okay. But you still follow the company very closely, obviously. What excites you about the company going forward the most?
It's something I said when I interviewed with Monroe, when I interviewed with CATL. My mission is still to accelerate the adoption of sustainable energy. That's still my mission, and that is, I think, something that most people underestimate in Tesla engineers is they are very much dedicated to that goal. And the vehicle's awesome. I love my Tesla, and I hope to see them do well, because a lot of the people I know work there are really hard workers and they're dedicated to the cause as well.
How do you find the working environment at CATL compared to Tesla? Can you comment on that? Like, what's the company culture like? Big differences?
In some of the high level stuff, it's about the same. But like CATL in America is still small scale and we're building up. Whereas Tesla was like maybe 200,000 people by the time I joined it. So it's, don't mind me. It's like, it's still a small business essentially.
Okay. Clay.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting, Sawyer's discussion of the next gen platform and also Omar's. It sounds like the next gen platform is what's going to be released on August 8th. I'm just curious if part of that might be a lot of new customization, because obviously they're working on Robotaxi and a compact. I'm just curious if maybe Antonio or someone else has any comments on maybe customization that could be possible in a next generation platform and manufacturing.
Tesla has a history of not having much customization just to reduce assembly costs. So I'm assuming it's going to be limited.
Interesting.
One thing I'm curious about is how this Generation 3 platform, how much easier it makes it for them to do custom vehicles, not custom as in for each customer, but to make specific vehicles for each continent, whether it allows them, I guess, more adaptability and more flexibility when they go to design and implement a vehicle for a certain market. Are they going to, for instance, are we going to have a different Generation 3 vehicle for each continent, or is it, do we expect the same thing in each market? Because we do know that Elon said in the past that they're creating design teams in each of their factories so they can do vehicles for each one of those countries. So I'd hope to see some more adaptability and flexibility.
I do believe a lot of this stuff is tailored to whatever market they're in. So like the China team has a lot more Chinese suppliers, so that's going to make some placement items of like what you use in your CAD drawings to make sure everything's aligned. Those will be different. And not to mention there's different rules and requirements for each. So each factory would kind of have some autonomy on their design, but overall the design should be, the overall vehicle design should be swappable.
Reggie.
Yeah, that's a question for Omar. Omar, do you anticipate in August any pre-orders from Tesla, allowing for pre-orders for the new gen platform? Or
It's possible, yeah. I mean, this isn't a conventional vehicle rollout, obviously, given that it's a driverless vehicle they're designing. But they've always taken reservations in the past, so maybe they'll do it for this one too.
Antonio, on Tesla's battery production, 4680 ambitions. Fast forward 5-10 years. How do you see the market share shaping up? Let's say, what percent of the kilowatt hours going into Tesla vehicles and Tesla stationary storage would you expect to be produced by Tesla itself versus sourcing from third parties like DHL?
Going forward, they're aiming at, what was it, 100 gigawatt hours, at least out of the main battery facilities. So I imagine that's going to be less than a third of their overall requirements for the 4 terawatt hours of batteries that they were expecting to need. And I think that was either on an industry level versus their requirements. So I think a lot of it's going to be outsourced. They can only produce so much themselves.
And how do you think how would you compare and contrast the 4680 from batteries that Tesla will be outsourcing from others, say again 5 to 10 years down the line? So obviously Tesla is making improvements on the energy density of 4680 with each version, but at the same time, the other players aren't staying still. They're making their own improvements as well. Do you think Tesla will catch up in terms of battery production, battery quality, energy density, or will exceed in other ways, maybe cost, since it won't be paying a profit margin to others when it's in-house, or another metric that I might be missing that Tesla's focusing on?
Now, cost is definitely the big one. In sourcing their batteries probably save them $3 to $4 per cell at a finished product. So that's a big one. But like Tesla also doesn't paywall their product and their intellectual property, aside from stuff that they're still developing. So and to prevent people from suing them for using it. So that's the only reason they have their patents, but they're giving out the technology to people that they are doing contracts with to develop it to their specs and to improve their own processes. So Tesla's progress is an industry progress. If everyone's bold enough to take this as a peace offering, as like when Elon sent a 48-volt guide out to the major OEMs. I think they're going to jump on that because it is good for the industry. So I think Tesla will do that with their battery technology, their manufacturing technology, their process development. I think they'll do that with all of that.
Thank you. Great answer. Jordan, any other questions for Antonio?
When you said $3 to $4 per cell, so that would be like $30 to $40 per kilowatt hour. Is that right? Am I thinking right?
For the 4680, when I was comparing it per kilowatt hour to 2170, or so I guess like per kilowatt hour.
Oh, $3 to $4 per kilowatt hour is just from insourcing alone.
Yes.
All right. We're going to switch gears for a second, and Antonio's still on the speaker board. Thank you very much, Antonio, for being generous with your time. And thank you for Jordan coming up here, asking questions that we can't ask because we don't have your expertise. And now switching topics for a second, cheap Teslas just joined the speaker board. We talked about cheap Teslas before. I believe Matthew brought that account up. And we were discussing how a private sale of a Tesla, used Tesla, doesn't qualify. You have to go through a dealership for the $4,000 EV credit. But I believe cheap Tesla is a solution for that. Is that right, cheap Teslas? Or am I misremembering what Matthew said?
Sorry, I wasn't on earlier, so I'm not sure exactly what was spoken about. But I guess I can touch a little bit on how the process works, if that's what you're kind of asking.
Yeah, please do.
So, pretty simple. If a car is eligible for the tax credit, it has to be a dealer entity that can submit it to the IRS. I'm set up to do it. Very simple for a dealer to do. If the dealer gets the customer's information, basically it's just driver's license, photo front and back, driver's license number, and social security number. That's put into the IRS website. The dealer can take off the $4,000 right off the top from the sale price, and basically they just get the direct deposit from the IRS 3 or 4 business days later. Pretty easy process. I've probably done about 40 to 50 of them. I guess I can plug my. I have a Facebook group that I run. It's called Tesla Steals, Deals, and Wholesale. Arguably, in my opinion, I'm probably a little biased, but it's in my opinion the best Tesla buy sell group on Facebook. Super active, 65,000 members or something like that. Regulated pretty heavily, so there's no spam, and a decent amount of good deals on there. So I'm open to answer any questions if you or anybody else has any.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Where do you see the best used Tesla deals right now? Which products, which trims, which model years?
It depends. Depends on what consumers are looking for. I personally am a big fan of Model S's, 17 to 18, like P100D or 100D units, all spec'd out with full self-driving. You can find those right now under 25 grand with, around 100, 120K on them. I think those are a great bang for buck right now, especially if you can get the $4,000 right off the sale price. That's my personal favorite. You're seeing a little bit of the high mileage Model Y long ranges, 2020, 2021s creeping in underneath the 25K mark. And even the Model 3 performances are now. So A lot of good options underneath that $25,000 mark, especially if you qualify for that $4,000. You can really get a good deal on one of those.
Thank you very much. Any questions for cheap Teslas, please request to speak. Antonio, what do you think about the model year and the Model S P100D that cheap Teslas was talking about? Obviously, you had some experience with those vehicles. What can you tell us about? Do you think that's a good buy with 100,000, 120,000 miles on them?
I mean, the P100s were the thing that got Tesla famous. So those are nice models. I do know anything after, I think it was October 2021, does not have the latest or the model hardware 2 or 3. So what it's like, the Robotaxi stuff will not be what they thought Robotaxi would be at the time will not be on that. So I don't even know if my hardware model is going to be capable of a new Robotaxi type fleet. So yeah, it's a good model, great one. Stupid fast. Definitely recommend.
Thank you. Cheap Teslas, what are some of the questions that you get often from people looking to buy used Teslas? Any recent changes around FSD type of questions, hardware 2, hardware 2.5 or 3? Or are most people buying from you, they just, kind of see it as autopilot, yes or no?
I think most of the questions that I get typically revolve around the tax credit. Just kind of maybe some uneducated buyers trying to figure out how exactly it works. Because for a long time, or I guess not a long time, but before 2023, it was not point of sale. And so now it's point of sale, and a lot of people don't really know and understand how that works. There's a lot of dealerships that are selling cars that either aren't set up with the IRS, or they just don't know how it works either. So I'd say that's probably the biggest group of questions I get regarding, used Teslas for sale. I do a lot of quote unquote unicorn spec cars, which are late 2016, early 2017, free supercharging with FSD capabilities. So a lot of people ask me, is this car in the VIN range? Could it be a unicorn car? Could it have both, FSD capability plus free supercharging? There's only, I don't know how many thousands of cars made in that range. I think it was like in the Model S range, 165,000 to like 185,000 is the VIN range for those. And then Model X is a lot slimmer, but that's another area where I get a lot of questions.
Thank you. When did you start your business, focusing on Tesla specifically?
I bought my first one in 2017, I think. Drove it home from Arizona to Washington. I'm based in Washington. Ever since then, really enjoyed Teslas, love the tech. And I've been kind of a car guy all my life, and got my dealer's license in 2019, I believe it was, and really just hit hard with Teslas. Built a community on Facebook, and kind of became, I don't know if I'd call myself an expert, but I became pretty knowledgeable in the Tesla space, and kind of just took off, actually.
That's awesome. Machine is our resident used resale Tesla value analyst. Machine, do you have any questions for cheap Teslas?
Have you noticed any change in the overall trend and decline in sale
You
prices?
scared them
for
away,
Teslas?
dude. You scared them away. He just dropped off. Did you see that?
I mean, I'm not surprised.
As
It's what
soon
happens.
as you open your mouth, the guy
Most
left.
people are afraid of my hard-hitting questions. They're not ready to put their feet in the fire.
Wow. You scared Antonio too. I think it's the eye.
He just didn't want to deal with another, joke about Michigan.
Well, I guess we have to switch the topic now.
It was a
because what am
little
I gonna
bit
ask you about?
unnecessary to insult the
Yeah,
whole state of Michigan, which he's from. Hey, you guys are a bunch of morons. Ah, great impression.
Thanks, machine. It's so crazy. After these spaces, I have to field calls, messages from YouTube content regulators about the advertiser-friendly guidelines. Anyway,
I'm not sure what happened.
Jordan,
I got kicked. I can answer.
yeah,
I can answer your question about values if you re-ask it.
yeah, please, machine.
Well, I was asking if you noticed any trends in the declines in used Tesla prices that has been going on for the last year. That seems to still be going on, maybe slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, I think definitely slowing. It took I thought there was a pretty steep decline over the last, I don't know, 3 to 4 months. Now with, tax refunds hitting and weather changing a little bit, just used car market generally it kind of bumps back up a little bit. I've seen, I'm not sure if you guys or anybody here is familiar with MMR, which is basically it's Manheim, which is the largest auction, wholesale auction in the US. It's their way or method of determining wholesale values. So I've actually seen a handful of cars that, I put in my workbook and I'm watching them throughout the week. I've seen their MMRs jump up a little bit, which is the first time I've seen that in a very, very long time for Teslas. But I think generally, the decline was very steep over the last few months. It's kind of leveled out at this point. And I think it'll probably stay level for maybe a few months, just as the weather's nice and tax refunds are hitting.
So the MMR values, they're not adjusted for seasonality, correct?
Could you say that again?
So they're not adjusted for seasonality, right? So if the recent rise that you spoke about, do you think that might be due to seasonality? Because when the tax season, tax refunds kind of pushing these values every year up a little bit during this time of the year, or are those values adjusted for seasonality already?
I think they're adjusted. I'm not sure exactly how the algorithm works for MMR. I couldn't tell you what, if it's based on. My guess is it's probably based on recent auction sale prices and kind of the trend at which they're seeing, similar cars go for. I'd say MMR isn't super accurate all the time, just because Teslas are pretty unique with technology. I mean, a wholesale, big wholesale auction company, they don't know the difference between standard autopilot and full self-driving. So it's hard for an MMR system or a value system to intake that when you can't really put it into it, I guess, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. What do you think is the machine? Go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay. Are customers willing to pay extra for FSD on a used Tesla today? If so, how much on average?
I value it on the retail end at like $3,000 for FSD over standard autopilot. Like I said, MMR wholesale value is probably just kind of a wash. If the dealer knows what they're doing and they're bidding on a car that has FSD, they're probably going to pay a little bit more for it. But just as a standard, I don't think MMR takes that technology into account.
Machine, thank you. Machine? Now Machine had a connection issue, it looks like. Any other questions for cheap Teslas? Please request to speak. What's the best deal you've ever seen? What's the best Tesla deal you've ever gotten?
The best deal I've ever gotten, I bought, I don't know, because my values are, I think my values are different than maybe a standard.
Yeah, it looks like we're having some connection issues. Cheap Tesla dropped off again. Machine is back up. Barber is trying to come up, but it's taking a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on here. Machine, welcome back.
Well, I was going to ask him another question, but he's gone now. So.
Are you on your desktop again? Do you think that's the problem?
No, I'm on the phone.
It's been doing it all day.
Yeah, I think the X app is having problems.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Another reason why we can't.
All right, Machine, ask your question.
Cheap Tesla, have you followed the used car guru used car index? And just curious how that aligns with what you've seen, because it seems like it's relatively aligned with what you've observed, but I'm just curious if you know anything about it.
I don't actually. That's something that I might have to look into.
Well, the difference between car gurus. One second. The difference between car gurus and MMR is wholesale values. Car gurus is retail asking prices. Machine. So,
yeah, yes, I know, but I'm just asking if he's observed.
Well, clearly you don't. Clearly you don't.
God, you're so rude. Okay, you have so many people on these
Clearly.
spaces, and you have you being rude, Omar, just out of nowhere criticizing me. I just think you guys.
Why are you getting defensive? What happened to you? Did you have a bad meeting with your boss?
This is not appropriate.
Gosh, give me a break. Omar, you were on that space, right? What did you think of it? There was a bunch of connection issues there, I think.
It was basically, well, I don't want to say what it was because then you won't get monetized. But it was an embarrassment to the company, essentially. And every one of these spaces Elon holds is an embarrassment to X. So I really hope that they resource the spaces team and, they lose viewers. It's just embarrassing. And then, you've got this Norway pension fund. They're a major shareholder of Tesla, but they had a major issue with Tesla not embracing collective bargaining in the EU. So this whole space was clearly a charade. Oh, Elon, tell us about how you're going to be on Mars. Just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, some of it was good, but you could tell that they really just wanted to ask this one question about the collective bargaining. That's what it was really all about, right? So they do the whole dog and pony show, and then they finally get to that question where they go, okay, Elon, so what's going on with this whole collective bargaining? Elon goes, yeah, I think it's fine. It looks good. I think the worst is over. It's looking fine. And then they go, well, can you tell us why you oppose collective bargaining? And the dude starts playing with the soundboard. It's like, wah! Oh, sorry, I'm just playing with the soundboard here. And then the pension fund just goes like, okay. What do you see as your long-term legacy? And they just it was a little bit cringe, but also hilarious. And it's maybe I would have actually really liked to hear his answer to that, like why he's opposed to collective bargaining. On the other hand, he probably would have pissed them off if he said something. So maybe, I assume there was some technical issue or something. But, it was not only embarrassing to the company that they can't get this live stream to work, which had 10,000 people in it, right? It's not rocket science to make this work with 10,000 people in it. And I'm sure maybe there were more listeners than that, but I don't know. they just need to get this working. It not only looked bad for X, but it actually impeded this conversation with a major shareholder of Tesla in a way that was not good. And, you know, it was kind of funny. I was laughing at the whole situation, but it also is not that funny if you owned X like he does. So I hope it's a wake up call to fix this, because these spaces can be really powerful. When Elon's speaking for himself, he does really well compared to like people twisting what he says over text and that type of thing. But spaces just suck so much that people aren't hearing it. So Elon, go down into the basement of X headquarters where you've assigned the Neuralink monkey to maintain the Spaces iOS integration and put at least a couple more monkeys in there at the very least. We're all in here. This is a major part of your platform. You know, focus on helping people monetize it. This could be a huge thing. Instead, it's embarrassing.
I agree. Spaces have tremendous potential. There's so much that can be done with it. And clearly people like it. It's a good medium. I think the discussion quality in spaces is much higher than on text. I think people treat each other better when audio is involved as opposed to it's just text, and even better in person. But obviously it's not simply possible for so many people in these spaces from around the world to be in person every single day, and these spaces allow us to do that. I think it's a really, really good alternative to just texting. Barbara, earlier you had a question, I think, right? Would you like to ask that? Barbara?
I don't see
Oh,
her
hey
as a
guys.
speaker.
Here she is.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Yama, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Awesome. Well, hey, I have a question that's like not about the platform. It's about a Cybertruck. I have a friend of mine that has been on the waiting list a while, and he was just telling me that if he was offered the Founder Series, he'd actually buy it today. So I don't know. I'm not trying to like rush the line, but I didn't know if there was a referral code or how that whole process works, or do I just use the app on my phone? I mean, I don't even know how any of that works, but I thought I'd pose the question just to see if there was like a special list or how one would go about referring somebody for Cybertruck, the Founder Series today, if that's
Omar,
possible.
Omar, they still are they still doing that? If you refer how many 3 people, you get your Cybertruck early?
It may be sold out. Let me check the referral program really quick here. Accelerate your Cybertruck delivery currently unavailable. Get notified when available. So
Okay.
obviously they only have a certain number of slots to accelerate.
Right. And the delivery dates just got pushed to 2025. So
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, cool. Well, thank you. I'm glad I asked. Now I know, and I'll know how to answer that question when I see him again. Thank you.
thank you, Barbara. Fud?
I don't know if anyone just saw, but there was an article by the Washington Post that Tesla has settled a case in the case of autopilot in the crash of an Apple engineer. So I think this could be bullish because obviously it means that there's less uncertainty. But I'm wondering what anyone has thought about that, because that's probably one of the many cases that are outstanding against Tesla. But they do seem to be winning most of them actually, or at least settling them out instead of actually having to, bad things happen.
Yeah. Omar, did you see that headline?
I didn't, but I'm familiar with the case. I think it's a smart move. Walter Huang, the Apple engineer, he was, I believe, playing a game or something on his phone and hit a divider in between 2 highways.
Yeah.
So that was a well-publicized incident. Obviously, a case of, driver inattention. I think Tesla has improved their driver monitoring systems a lot since then. I think it was kind of when the technology was new, but you know, kind of not letting it have that uncertainty of what a jury decides, just sort of settle it with them, make things good. And at this time when FSD is so crucial for the company, they can't really afford a judgment that doesn't go their way.
Thank you, Fudd, for bringing that to our attention, the latest news. Cheap Teslas. Much has been made, many articles have been written about the resale value depreciation of Teslas and other electric vehicles. Where do you see these trends going? I know you mentioned that MMRs bumped up a little bit recently, but maybe long term, how do you see resale values, depreciations? How do you think EVs and Teslas specifically will hold up their value against other vehicles, say a couple years down the line, 3, 4, 5 years down the line?
Yeah, I think we have to be hitting the bottom here soon. I know I didn't get to answer your question, or I got to half answer it when you asked what the best deal I've ever bought was. I bought a 2016 P100D with free supercharging, SC01 code, so transferable, free, unlimited supercharging. I bought one, had 120,000 miles on it for like 19 grand, and I just don't see like P100Ds going much lower than that. I know Model 3s with high miles are in the teens now. I can't see a Tesla, a working Model 3 Tesla selling for like under 10 grand. I just personally, I don't think they can get much lower. The value of the tech and just it wouldn't make sense for them to go any lower. So I think we're close to rock bottom on that stuff. Obviously, the newer stuff is going to drop and continue to drop, but you know, like the older stuff, we're pretty low as it is right now, and I don't think we're going to get much lower.
Okay, thank you. On tax credits, whether it's for a new Tesla or a used Tesla, how knowledgeable are the people calling you up on it? And have you seen that change improve over the last year or two? More connection issues. Hold up. There we go.
I got kicked again. I don't know what keeps happening.
It's just a bug in nature, man. You roll with the punches.
What were you saying?
The question was, among the people that call you up to buy a Tesla, how knowledgeable is an average buyer on federal tax credits, whether for a new Tesla or a used Tesla? And have you seen that knowledge level increase over the last year? Or are you having to answer the same questions over and over again for more than a year now?
It's gotten better now that the tax credit is a little bit more simplified as far as being point of sale. Before 2023 hit, it was kind of just not a lot of people knew. And even January, when the IRS really rolled out the point of sale, I'm not even sure if the IRS knew exactly what they were doing. They had classes for dealers that wanted to try to get some more information, and there's a lot of questions that they couldn't even answer. So I think it's still so early that most people aren't super educated. I know at least on the consumer side, it's starting to get a little bit better. There's some articles out there that make it a little bit easier to understand, but in reality, the tax credit is super, super simple. And if you think you qualify, even if you might not qualify, it's worth, if you're trying to buy a used Tesla, it's worth taking the tax credit, because to my knowledge and my understanding, you can get the $4,000 off regardless. And if for some reason you go to file next year for 2024, I got cut off again.
That's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah. So you can get the $4,000 off regardless. And if you go to file in 2024, next year, in February, April, or March, April, whatever, and you end up not qualifying it for it, you can just you'll just be liable to pay that $4,000 back. So in reality, you're getting like a $4,000 0% interest loan from the IRS for a year, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. A lot of people are concerned about the battery longevity of EVs. When somebody comes to you and you feel that they're potentially concerned about that, what do you say to them to appease their concerns?
I've personally experienced, since I do use Teslas a lot, I've experienced a lot of them. I've had a couple of high mileage units, original battery, original drive unit. I had a P100D Model S with 230 something thousand on it, and the thing was an absolute tank. Still got 287, I think, on a full charge. And I just personally, I don't worry about it. I tell people that I think the cases where bad batteries happen are very few, or far and small. I'm a big fan of Tesla and their tech, and I believe in it. And high mileage or mileage doesn't make a difference for me personally.
Gotcha. Are you finding? Let's kind of focus on the first-time buyers of Teslas. Okay, so somebody that, let's say, can't really afford $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 new Tesla. They come to you. They want to get a Tesla. They want to adapt to an EV lifestyle, and they come to you. Let's say, do you find that after the sale, do you find that you're having to answer a lot of questions for them? Do they call you back with a bunch of questions, or are they kind of easily able to find answers online, or are you having to handhold them quite a bit?
A little bit of both, I'd say. There's definitely a mixture. I've helped people shoot. It feels like months after they buy a car from me, just trying to figure it out. I got a Model X recently for my mom, and she calls me just about every week trying to figure out how to do this or that. So I think it depends a little bit on the buyer and kind of honestly their age and how well they understand technology. But I'd say most of the Tesla buyers are pretty younger, pretty much the younger generation that understands how to Google stuff and find their answers online. So I don't do a whole ton of hand holding.
Gotcha. How do you source quality used Teslas? Are there any unique challenges compared to finding traditional used vehicles?
Yeah, I'd say there is. I'm lucky. I have I don't know how I want to say it without saying too much here. I have a good contact that is able to remotely diagnose and look at Teslas for me just by giving him the VIN. And so all of the Teslas I purchase, unless it's got to be on the fly and I have to act quick on something, I run the VIN through him, and he will tell me if it has any outstanding issues, if it got taken to a service center recently and turned down a recommended service or a repair that was needed. He'll tell me the codes if I don't know which version of autopilot it has, or if it has free supercharging or whatever. He's able to tell me that information. So I have a nice contact that gives me a lot of good information when I'm purchasing cars, and I try my best to buy cars that are solid. Every once in a while there's something that slips through the cracks, but for the most part, everything that I personally buy is a very solid car, and I try to only sell good stuff back to consumers.
Yeah. Does the reconditioning process for used Teslas differ significantly from traditional cars?
Could you say that again? It cut out just a little bit.
Does the reconditioning of used Teslas differ significantly from traditional cars?
No, I don't think so. I think personally, Teslas are just the same as your standard internal combustion. Really, the only things with Teslas that you got to get done, at least from what I've experienced, is like half shafts up front are really popular, are really common for big battery, especially Model X's. So I've dealt with having to replace a couple of those before, but besides that, it's pretty much just your standard tires, brakes, and that's it.
Great. What surprised you the most about entering the used Tesla market? Did you learn anything? Did you find out anything that you weren't expecting as you were kind of deciding to go into this?
That's a great question. I think I was surprised at how lucrative it was, honestly. I think I've been very lucky, but I think I'm surprised at how many people are actually buying EVs and Teslas. You look at all the news and all the articles and all this stuff about how many cars are selling, but it's actually real, especially on the used market. There's a lot of buyers out there, and I recently kind of dabbled in the Taycan market a little bit. So I purchased my first Taycan just to try it out. I've done Teslas for so long, and I wanted to feel kind of another quote unquote EV luxury car. So I purchased a Taycan and have it for sale. And there's a significantly less amount of buyers out there for that type of car. So I think Tesla just holds. It's the brand name. They just generate so many more buyers out there.
Yeah, that's great insights. Fudd, I recommend. Have you checked your pants after that comment? Fudd is hanging out. He's not even paying attention right now.
Yeah, what did he say?
Are you sleeping on my board?
No, I was, because Elon made a comment back then. He was like, "Oh, we're not going to litigate any case, or at least like settle any case that is unjust against
Forget
us."
that settlement right now. Okay,
Right.
We have a used Tesla market expert
Okay,
on
you're
the
right.
board
Yes.
who just said there's a vast amount of larger group of buyers for Tesla than any other EV car. And as a short seller of Tesla, are you not scared by that comment?
I just think that if you're selling these used cars, there's just less margin on this. So I'm more concerned that you're actually just going to start losing margin, because all of a sudden, instead of selling these new cars, you're going to make
You're
less
not even
profit.
paying that. You're not even paying attention. Just stay on listening mode. What you said has nothing to do with what Cheap Tesla said. Yoda?
Hey, first, just a shout out to FUD News. How's your Monday going? And then the question for used car seller. Just wondering, who are the folks you're seeing coming into their first used Tesla? Is it people coming from the Camrys, the kind of the kind of going upscale, or are you seeing people coming down from more luxury vehicles like BMWs and Audis, etc.?
That's a great question. I don't ask, and maybe I should. I'd say most are commuter internal combustion engine vehicle owners, like probably your Camrys and your Honda Civics, Accords, whatever it may be. Maybe even some people moving from like a hybrid, like a Prius, into one. I just think with some of these Teslas getting so cheap, it opens up the opportunity for somebody who thought maybe originally they couldn't afford a Tesla to now buy one.
Thank you. Uziobi.
Hey, I just received like an email from work, and had Tesla in it, so I was so excited. And this company called Placer AI basically takes people's phone data, then takes like a survey, and then models it to the rest of the population. With the data they have for Tesla customers, they're looking at where customers are like going in California, on how often they're at the showrooms, and then comparing it between Tesla, Hyundai, Toyota, and Ford in California. I just tagged Yaman in the chat with 2 of the photos. For the question of like who with all the political aspects with Tesla lately, there's a question like who's going to be continue to buy our products, not our products, but the products. And the second chart that I provided was really interesting. It was saying that older people actually were there's a 2.69% change in the past year for sunset boomers. Educated urbanites tended to be more interested, whereas more middle income, culturally diverse visitors had large drop offs. So if you want to interpret the data for yourself, I included those charts.
Thank you.
That's actually
Ron.
a good point too. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Chief Teslas.
I think that's a good point because I've actually sold recently a handful of units to some older folks that are buying their first Tesla as well. So I think I haven't seen the article or the information that he's talked about, but I can get on board a little bit with that, and I guess speak some truth to it.
Thank you. Matthew, thank you for connecting us with Cheap Teslas today. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, happy to do so. I just wanted to vouch for him. My parents have owned a couple Model S's, and they actually bought a used Model Y from Josh at Cheap Teslas, and it worked out really well. He mentioned how he tries to get a diagnostic on the car. So when you buy a car from Josh, he tells you up front, like, hey, these are the issues. He gives you pictures of all the scratches and dents and things like that. So if you're buying a car that's across the country and paying to have it shipped to you, when it shows up, you're not going to get all mad like, oh, it's got a scratch here or something. You're going to know ahead of time. So worked out really well, and they got a great deal on a used performance Model Y with FSD. So highly recommend that. I also have a couple friends who are in the car business outside of Josh, and what they're telling me is a lot of people who don't have a down payment or who have bad credit are getting pushed into EVs from the dealers, because if let's say you don't have great credit, maybe you can only afford say $300-400 a month as a car payment, you can get a used cheap Model 3 or Chevy Bolt or Nissan Leaf or something like that, and the $4,000 IRA tax credit acts as a down payment. So often, if you have bad credit and you're financing a vehicle, the bank will require you put a certain percentage of the vehicle down or a certain dollar amount down. That tax credit can act as your down payment. So getting into EVs has been pretty popular for people with poor credit as well.
That's interesting. Thank you, Matthew. Omar, any other questions for Cheap Teslas or anyone else? Please request to speak. This space has been going on for more than 3 hours, 3.5 hours almost. If you'd like to support the space, the link is at the top of our screens.
I just want to say thanks to Matthew for getting me on here. I don't use X a whole ton, and I'm going to try to start using it a little bit more now. But thanks Matthew for connecting me to this space and allowing me to talk a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, so your name is Josh, right? You go by Josh.
Yep.
one way to you can really help us out if you could any kind of trend changes that you see in the used Tesla market, to the extent that you'd like to share it with. Obviously, these spaces are recorded; they're viewed by tens of thousands of people. It's live streamed simultaneously on YouTube as well. So, obviously, I don't expect you to share everything. Some things will have to stay as your business competitive advantage or what have you. But anything you'd like to share, I think it really helps people connect with you and follow you on X. And when they need a used Tesla, they might come to you in return. So that would really help us out.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you need something from me, let me know.
Okay, sounds good. Fad?
Yeah, given that I have high confidence in Elon Musk delivering this Robotaxi and delivering value to these assets, are you worried that your cheap Teslas might become luxury Teslas if they can actually deliver on this?
Sorry, could you ask that question again?
Yeah, if we are.
So he's basically asking, what do you are you concerned that the resale values of your inventory will get a hit if Tesla delivers on Robotaxi promise?
I'm saying that it's going to go up, actually. So instead of being cheap Teslas, they're going to be appreciating Teslas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have a great answer for that one. I'm pretty realistic with where the market is now, and it's hard. I mean, if I could tell you what the market was going to do in 6 months to a year, I'd probably be a millionaire, and that would be awesome. But I kind of just ride the wave. The car market is such a wave, and you never really know what's going to happen. My philosophy is trying to move cars within a week of getting them. So I'm all about the now. Who knows what happens in 3, 4, 5 months down the road. But when we get there, I'll be ready for it.
Okay. We have a question for you. How can people get in touch with you, cheap Teslas?
Honestly, the best way. Well, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more active on X, but the best way is on my Facebook group. I'm the admin of my Facebook group. It's Tesla Steals, Deals, and Wholesale on Facebook. It's a private group, and you can message me on Facebook. That's the best place to get a hold of me quickly.
Okay. Honestly, there are people in this space that would rather pay more for a used Tesla than use Facebook. Just FYI.
Yeah,
so I recommend.
I gotta get more active on here.
Right. Exactly. Clay.
It's hard because I can only post 4 pictures on my stupid my posts.
Hey Josh.
Okay. Clay.
Hey Josh, I just wanted to ask if you have any funny experiences talking to other dealership owners. I have a family friend who owns some dealerships, and he doesn't know I'm a longtime Tesla investor and owner, but he's talking about how the Cybertruck's a failed product and nobody wants EVs, and EVs are dead on arrival and all this funny stuff. And I'm just listening to him talk, just kind of laughing. I'm just curious if you have any similar funny experiences with dealers.
Nothing in particular that I can think of, but I've purchased a lot of cars wholesale from dealers. I search probably 5 to 6 hours a day for Teslas for sale, whether that's at the auction or just on the used market from other dealers listing them up. And I've bought a handful of them from other dealers, and these guys, most of the time when I call them up, I'm just like, hey, I specialize in Teslas, typically ones with maybe some higher mileage, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, yeah, we don't know anything about these things. And that's about the extent of the conversation. I think it's getting better, there's definitely a handful of dealerships out there now that really know Tesla super well and EVs super well, but there's still some older, like mainly franchise dealers that really just don't know anything about them and can't tell you anything about them, not willing to learn about them. So I think there's definitely just there's just a lot of dealers out there that they don't even care about EVs really. They probably make a lot more money in standard internal combustion cars.
Yeah, it's interesting though. They also have certain talking points just ready to go to like bash EVs, and I just think it's funny to hear.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, some of these dealers, like, they can't let the EVs creep in, or else it's going to take a lot of money out of their pocket. So yeah, I hear you there for sure. That's the case on a lot of standard dealers, franchise dealers, like I was saying, just very uneducated and not very knowledgeable and not willing to be.
If dealers are so reluctant to sell their EVs, what makes us so confident that we're going to be able to reach this 50% market share in the future if they're not going to make any money on this? What's the incentive, unless you're saying that all these manufacturers are going to just skip out on these dealerships?
Well, I don't necessarily think that. I guess I don't know. To answer your question, I'd say it's a small handful of franchise dealers that don't really care much about Teslas. Most of these guys, anyways, are like, I bought a car from a Porsche dealer. This P100D owner decided to trade in on, I don't know, a GT3 or something like that, and they're lowballing the hell out of these guys that are doing trade-ins. So they're making money anyways, and they're going to sell the car. They just don't know anything about them. Like, this car had full self-driving. This car had free supercharging. It was a unicorn car, and they couldn't tell me. They didn't know anything about it. And I guess it's they're willing to take the cars in and they're willing to sell them. They're just not willing to understand them to a high degree, I guess, if that makes more sense.
Yeah. Josh, do you see yourself as in competition with the used Tesla sales at Tesla.com?
Yeah, I think anytime you're selling a used Tesla, you have to take those values and what they're kind of selling them at into account. I'm always, anytime I'm selling a Tesla, it's got to be under that. I think, the used cars that Tesla sells are kind of the benchmark for the market, and if those start to come down, your third-party dealers have to come down as well. And I think it's yeah, I really just think it's the benchmark for the used market. And I wish there was a way. I don't know if there is a way to see what is actually sold recently on Tesla CPO or whatever it's called, or EV CPO, or Tesla's used website. But if anybody knows that and could share that with me, I'd be really appreciative of that.
Matthew.
Yeah, so EV CPO, for those who don't know, it's a long time kind of not marketplace, but listing of every used as well as inventory car that Tesla puts on their website. And you can use it for free, and you can get a premium account for free, but if you pay, you can see historical sites. So history essentially just means cars that have been removed from the site. So you assume they've sold, but all you know is they were listed from Tesla, and now they're no longer listed at Tesla.com. The other thing you can see is all the price changes. So, back, 7-8 years ago, when it was just kind of the Model S that was being traded on the used market, was really handy to see, you know, Tesla would list a car and then every week they would drop the price. And so you could see what the prices were, but then sometimes the prices would go up. But so that website, you know, 5 to 10 years ago was super helpful. Now there's so many cars for sale, it's not kind of as necessary.
Joseph.
Looks like we had a connection issue here. If I knew his middle name, I would say his middle name too. But did you have a question, or were you kind of reacting to something there? Okay.
Josh, you know, legacy automakers make billions of dollars trading recent model year used cars, but Tesla doesn't, right? What do you think Tesla can do better on its used Tesla side of the business that you would kind of recommend to management?
Well, they do offer trade-in, and I think typically they come in really low. So they make their money on their used cars. But I think they're all about selling new cars. Obviously, that's their biggest push. And I think if they brought their trade-in offers a little bit higher. I see a lot of people, whether it's on Facebook or whatever it is, a lot of people will get trade-in quotes and come back and say, hey, Tesla's offering me this much, I'll sell it for this much. So I mean, I think Tesla can still make money raising their trade-in offers. I think streamlining everything into one, if somebody wants to trade in a car, or if somebody wants to trade in a used Tesla on a new one, if they could make it super easy, give a competitive trade-in offer on that thing, I think they'd probably do a lot more used stuff. But I'm happy with it. They're opening the door for third-party dealers like myself and a lot of other guys that I know, and it keeps us in business, I guess.
Great. So, you know, obviously, when Tesla gets a trade-in, let's assume somebody traded in a Model 3 for a Model Y, and that Model 3 did not have FSD before, right? Tesla can add FSD to that traded in Model 3 at no cost to Tesla and increase the value of that used Tesla as a pressure on your business.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know why they don't do that, honestly. It seems like an easy moneymaker and an easy way to get cars sold. But I don't know what it consists of. I don't know what the process of doing that is. I think, to my understanding, there's like locations where they just bring these used cars in that get traded in, and they just go there and sit. So I like I said, I don't know what the process is enough to understand that deeply and make a decision based on that. But you would think if they just added FSD to every single car, it would help them sell them.
Omar, do you know why Tesla does not do that more frequently?
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
If at all?
Why do they not what?
Why doesn't Tesla add FSD to the used Teslas to increase the value at no cost to Tesla?
Well, they could, but they'd rather just sell FSD to those people if they could.
Right. So you're saying instead of adding that to every used Tesla and increase the value by $2,000-$3,000 today, they'd rather wait until FSD is really good and have those people buy or subscribe at $200 a month anyway. Okay.
Yeah, you probably make more having them subscribe over time, I would think. Maybe that's their thought.
I guess so. All right. Any other questions for cheap Teslas or Omar or anyone else on the board? Please request to speak. I see Ryan in the crowd. If he wants to come up, I think they can have a good back and forth between cheap Teslas. Josh and Ryan could talk a little bit. Earlier, we had Antonio, who worked at Sandy Munro, and as well as Tesla before that. And that was a great conversation for those of you who just joined. If you'd like to go back, you can do so on YouTube live as we're live, or you can wait until this X space is over to go back as well. Princip in Esilio, go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. Just wanted to ask a couple of suggestions. As you know, this Tesla has become like an iPhone for us. We have been upgrading every couple of years. I started with Model 3, Model Y, because Model Y got very cheaper. I've been a frequent subscriber, been subscribing Model FSD for last 1 year. Whenever they started month to month, it has been great. With our now that our family extended, we are looking to upgrade to Model X. It's just that I'm really curious to hear from Holmars, Omar, cheap Teslas, anything. Model X could basically depreciate value really quick. I don't want to buy anything like 2022 used or 23, especially when we are waiting for bumper camera, front bumper camera, or ambient lighting. Any suggestions for me? I really need the Model X just so that, since we have an extended family now and we really feel safe with FSD, so I'm going to be subscribing. If the used Tesla comes with FSD, I will take it. But I really like the monthly subscription because it has been very flexible. My question is mostly in terms of the Model X purchase. Do you want me to wait, or what do you suggest? Just a suggestion, no pressure.
So I drive a 2023 Model S without a front bumper camera with hardware 4, and I love it. I think the S and X are great. If you've had a 3 or Y, the S and X are a great upgrade. They're bigger, they're roomier, you got a family, and you still have everything you love about your smaller size Tesla. So I definitely recommend a hardware 4 Model X if you like FSD and you can afford it. I would get a hardware 4 one. Now, for me, I'm kind of just like not really thinking about depreciation on this car. I'm just going to drive it. I don't intend to sell it anytime soon. So I'm not really worried about the depreciation. A more expensive luxury car like the Model X is going to depreciate faster. So that's going to be a disadvantage to buying a new one. If you choose to buy a used one and there are used ones out there, then you're going to see less depreciation and you have to worry about that less. But then of course, you're probably getting a hardware 3 car or something like that. So, in short, new Model X if you can afford it, used one if you want to have less depreciation cost.
Thanks a lot, Omar. That really makes a lot of sense. I have a couple of other questions. Just asking for a friend. I have motivated multiple people to subscribe. Now that they looked at my Model Y auto parking, right? It's really great. You can choose the parking spot and all that. My friend has a Model X 2022. He has an ultrasonic sensor, but his auto park is really bad compared to our new auto park. So he's kind of jealous, and he has been asking me, "Hey, since I'm very active in Twitter with reaching out to Omar and multiple people, just curious, any timeline or anything that we are anticipating on, when they can get upgraded to new auto park on the ultrasonic sensors?"
Yeah, that is also a factor. If you decide to use a used Model X, you're probably going to lose that end-to-end auto park since only the newest cars support it now. The old cars have the old auto park system that they've had for years, which uses the ultrasonic sensors. So they don't want to move over to the vision system quite yet because the ultrasonic sensors are, pretty accurate in just their distance measurement. So I think for people who are kind of used to that feature and how it works, they don't want to kind of move to pure vision before they're really sure that it's better than the ultrasonic sensors in every way and there's not going to be any performance degradation. So I imagine, maybe a few months, maybe longer. It's kind of difficult to predict with these things. But they have confirmed on X, Ashok and others have confirmed on X, that they are going to be bringing the vision based 3D Park Assist to the cars with ultrasonic sensors. And they're going to be bringing the new Auto Park too. So it is coming eventually. I don't know when, but for now it's the vision only cars. So the non vision only cars are kind of frustrated and they have to wait, which I think is kind of funny. Not too long ago, people were saying, "Oh, I
Uh,
don't want to buy one of these vision cars."
I
Now
had
people are saying, "Oh my God, I wish I had one of these vision cars."
Omar, you read my mind. I was about to say that it's so funny that my friend actually said that, hey, why did you buy that? It's not never gonna work. What happens if it's rain? Now, yesterday, couple of nights, when I took him for a ride in a parking lot and a Target, he says, hey, can you just get my USS removed and get the vision only? So, yeah, I agree.
My bane of existence is back. What do you have to say?
I didn't mean to come up. How did I come up?
One thing
I don't know, man.
on a funny note, one thing that I just thought of saying is that the amount of money that I put it into, experiencing Tesla vehicles, if I put them onto Tesla stocks, I would be a millionaire by now. I did not do that, but I've been following Tesla from 2017, 2018. A great car. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the questions. Eric?
Well, all I really want to do is drive FSD and test FSD, and I can't. So on Sunday, I was really frustrated. I wanted to get a hold of someone at Tesla. So I was like, I just got this new Model 3. I'm going to trade it in and get an old Model 3 because I don't have FSD. I didn't actually do it. I'm not going to do it. I have more clarity around that, being patient and whatever that's coming. But they sent me a quote for what I would get for a trade-in estimate is $30,500. I paid $51.50 for mine new. So just an interesting data point there. $20,000 difference in 3 weeks. And Josh, thank you for
Machine, what do
being
you
here.
think about Machine, what do you think about that?
About what?
Low performance day for Machine. Oh my God, you're a mess. Did you not get enough sleep last night? What's going on?
No, I'm just not. I'm supposed to be listening right now. Okay, I'm trying to do work.
You're trying to work. Bullshit. You're outside. Josh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that kind of goes back to my point of Tesla's just trade-in offers are just garbage. After 3 weeks, 20 grand. That's kind of crazy. That's just another reason why. I mean, to each their own. A lot of people get great deals on new stuff. Being an independent dealer, third-party dealer, I just couldn't fathom purchasing a new car from Tesla. That's just kind of what happens to them, unfortunately. But after a few years, once they start to die off as far as that initial depreciation goes, then I feel like they're pretty competitive unless Elon drops the price bombs like he has over the last couple of years.
Well, it's interesting the way you guys were talking about FSD going, they could put them on, but in my case, it's the reverse. So I spent $12K on FSD, which is worth $12K to me, but to them, it's not worth anything. Why would they? So it's really only like
right
$8,000 difference to them, as how I'm thinking about it, at least.
Eric, you have to put yourself there. You go. Josh, so how long have you? Can you remind me again? How many years have you been trading Teslas? And how many do you have on hand at any given time?
I have been doing it for about 6 years with Teslas. At any given time, I will have anywhere from 1 to 5 Teslas. Like I kind of touched on before, my business model is I get rid of them, or at least try to price them to sell in less than a week.
Okay,
so
gotcha. Let me ask you this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Say your high turnover, low on hand. It's a great business model. Great. On January 12th, the night of January 12, 2023, what was going through your mind?
Was that when they dropped when they tanked the prices?
That's right.
Did not affect me much. Luckily. Like I said, my used, or my I guess my market is geared more towards that lower end stuff, or that lower price point stuff. So that when Elon does that, it just absolutely kills that new 1 to 2 years old. The newer stuff gets killed in value, but the older stuff, it still holds pretty well. I think you'll see less of a change there. And that's kind of why I like that area too. Not only is there a lot of buyers, but there's less fluctuation, I think, when that type of stuff happens.
That makes sense. What portion of your buyers rely on financing to buy the cars?
I'd say it's about 50-50. I deal with a lot of guys that will buy cash. But at the same time, there's always a handful of people that want to finance. Luckily, I do both. I don't do in-house financing because I'm just I'm a solo operation. So I'm just a small guy. I don't like partner with financing companies yet, but I work with any lender of the buyer's choosing. And yeah, so I'd say like 50-50, maybe.
Okay, and the final question I have for you is, what's the cheapest Tesla you've sold?
Cheapest Tesla I've sold. I have a client in California. He has a Turo fleet of like 50 Teslas. He buys a couple of cars from me every month. I think I bought a 2015 Model S 70D with free charging, and I sold it to him for like 11 grand.
Wow, that's amazing. Where did you say this?
210,000 miles. Sorry, probably pretty relevant information.
Yeah. Where is this Turo operation?
His Turo operations in the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. This is great. This has been really, really informative. Thank you very much, Josh. And always welcome to come back anytime you want. And anytime you see a change in the market, you're noticing the sea shifting, you're welcome to come up and share that with us anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And you said you're going to be more active on X. And
I will be.
if people want to buy a used Tesla from Josh or trade in their Tesla, sell their Tesla to Josh, get in touch through his account, Cheap Teslas.
Yep, I will be more active. So, I don't know, at me or send me a message.
All right,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. All right, Temp, any other thoughts? What else is on your radar? Anything?
I'm just
Temp is
working.
sleeping.
Looking at a mutual NDA here.
Okay. All right. Well, we have, let's see who else. I think John Ukman just tried to come in, but Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. In the meantime, if you'd like to support the space, you're welcome to do so on Patreon. I would highly appreciate it. We added, I believe, 2 or 3 people today. Galaxy Blue, thank you, and Joseph Foster. Thank you very much for joining Patreon. All right. It's been 4 hours today. 4-hour space. Marty T just posted, for those of you who waited until the end, there's a bonus. Marty T posted that I believe this is the first ever Model Y to net of taxes, net of tax credits. It should sell below $30,000. Both Massachusetts and federal tax breaks come right off the top. So this Model Y starts at $29,490. There you go. That's amazing. I wonder how long before used Model Y prices decline below 25,000. I would suspect that as Cybertruck production ramps, we're going to see some used Model Ys below 25,000. Minus the $4,000 of tax credit, you're looking at a $21,000 Model Y. That's obviously going to be significantly cheaper than something like a RAV4. All right. On that note, thank you very much, everybody. Actually, hold on 1 second. Cheap Tesla's coming up again. Cheap Teslas, go ahead. Cheap Teslas.
Oh,
Josh?
can you hear me? All right, I'm here. I was just gonna say, since you're on the topic, I've sold a handful of Model Ys under the $25,000 mark and eligible.
No
for tax
way.
credit. Yep.
Wow.
So they're out there. They are out there.
That's amazing. How did you buy them? How'd you get them? That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, no, I've done. I think I've done 4 of them now. One was a Model Y Performance, actually 2020, with 150K on it. I sold that one for $23,500 before the tax credit, so $19,500 after the tax credit, which is insane. And then a couple that were right around the 100,000 mile mark, just regular long ranges.
That's incredible. Thank you. So, if you want to buy a Model Y, sorry, did you say $19,000 for a Model Y?
Yep, after the tax credit.
But can you elaborate on a little bit more, that deal?
Yeah, you want me to just pull it up right now? I can get you the exact specs.
Sure. I mean, any detail you can give us. When was it? How did you get the vehicle?
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, so this one was in February. 2020 Model Y Performance, white on white, 150,000 miles. I actually had this one. I sold this one for $23,000, not $23,500. So 19,000 out the door. Clean title, no accidents, really good looking car, still charged up. I can't remember what the full charge was, but that one sold in like 15 minutes. I got a deposit in 15 minutes on that one, I think, after I posted it.
Well, did you feel like you gave it away, that you should charge more? Was that
No,
just
that's
a kind of issue of mispricing?
No, that's kind of part of my business. I don't try to gouge. I'll try to make, I got to make a little bit of money on each car, but I really do try to price them to sell right away. Somebody else gets a good, a retail buyer gets a wholesale deal on it. They're happy. I'm happy because I make a little bit of money and the car's gone in a day or two.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Come back more often.
You got it.
All right. That was a bonus knowledge for those of you who stuck to the end. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will talk to you tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Central. Take care.